Now or never, I guess. What's happening for him? Does anybody remember that guy, Ray William Johnson?
Oh, that's
a little
what
bit,
it was.
yeah.
It kind of sounded familiar.
Great channel, classic.
Yeah,
Classic.
the best. We're Sardonicast. I'm Adam from Your Movie Sucks. Who's with me? Nobody.
Ralph, come on. You go next. I was being silent so you could go.
Wow, what a
We should have
dickhead.
coordinated
I'm Ralph.
this.
We can do it
we
again.
didn't really. No. We didn't really plan
I'm Ralph
this
the
out.
Movie Maker. I'm Ralph the Movie Maker. Hello. YouTube.com/Ralph the Movie Maker. Now you go, you fuckhead.
And I'm Alex from I Hate Everything.
Do you
Fuck you, Ralph.
Alex? Do you ever find it odd that there's a YouTuber named I'm Alex? When you say I'm Alex, do you feel like you're kind of stealing that?
No, because I was Alex first.
Yeah, but you weren't I'm Alex.
Well,
Now you can just say me name Alex.
me Alex.
Yeah.
The point is, we're not good at starting these things.
Yeah.
But once we
Anyway,
get in the groove of it-
especially today, because I'm hungover as
Especially
shit.
today.
I'm terribly hungover. And, you know, I thought we had things planned out, you know.
Yeah, Ralph.
I don't...
well, I can explain my end.
Go on, Ralph.
Okay, so we usually record these things on the Tuesday before we post them. And today is President's Day, which is a Monday. And all the classes I had on Monday are now moved to Tuesday, which is like usual recording time. So I text everyone 3 o'clock in the morning when I realize this. And I'm like halfway high. And I'm like,
halfway high.
yo, guys, we got to record tomorrow. Is that cool with you?
Whoops.
And Alex is like, what?
I wasn't the angry one. It was Adam.
Hey, whoa.
Absolutely.
Don't interpret anger from my text. You know,
You
there's
said
so much
fuck
left
a lot,
up.
and you said, "Oh, geez."
Well, I was shit
He's like, I gotta get some fucking sleep.
That's not anger. That's despair. that was just
Yeah.
sadness.
It's worry.
And I'm pretty sure I didn't say fuck. I said fug with several G's in a
Okay,
row.
you're right. You're
just
right.
like
You're right.
12 G's.
Let me look up this Twitter content.
So-
but you start.
All
you
right.
start
So I mean, I every Sunday I do my Twitch stream, and I play
Yeah.
video games, and I usually get drunk. I don't usually stay up as late as I did last night. I wound up. I started playing Pokemon Blue for the stream, and it's such a nostalgic game for me. It is so close to my heart. It's the first game that I've ever owned. Straight out of my
weird.
childhood, and I was having so much fucking fun playing the game. And then I didn't even realize it until I noticed the sun was out. I was like, wait a minute. It's 7 a.m. And then I'm about to
Really?
go to bed, and I look at my phone. I'm like, uh-oh. We can't really record any other day other
okay.
than in, 5-6 hours from now. As I'm reading this. So I chugged some Powerades. I microwaved 2 bowls of ramen and just scarfed it all down. And now I'm here. And
Jesus.
How
doing
fucked is
good.
your sleep schedule?
Let's not get into that.
It sounds
I mean,
like it's just totally.
I'm glad
messed
that I
up.
broke. I'm glad that I didn't sleep in today, because that means that it'll probably be easier to fall asleep tonight. So
That's true.
we're good. Yeah, this is
Technically, that's good.
episode 2, starting off with a bang.
On a flying start.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're a mess.
So if it sounds like somebody's dying in my room, it's probably me. You just hear like hacking noises, like yeah. That's it's just what I'm going through. Anyway,
What's on the agenda today, everybody?
well,
Not agenda, dude.
I know it's on the gay agenda, but
Oh, okay.
let's not talk about that. What we should talk about is episode 1 of the previous podcast. We're going to get so fucking meta that we're just basically going to be providing commentary on our commentary.
Wow.
How do you think episode 1 went?
We're gonna do this every week. But
Yeah.
we're just gonna review the previous
Only-
episode.
Yeah.
That's all we're going to
But-
talk about.
You know
most
what? For a
meta
first episode, I
podcast.
think we did really good. I think the main complaints were Adam spoke too much,
Mm-hmm.
Alex spoke too little, and I'm annoying. Those were the 3. But I think for the most part, we gelled pretty well, I gotta say. I think we do better than most podcasts that have been on for a couple years, dare I say.
Yeah, I got to say the first episode, in my opinion, was pretty good, pretty stellar. You know, tip top stuff.
What would you rate it out of 10?
An A plus.
An A plus. Wow, you couldn't even go with the number rating. You
Wow.
bastard.
I'm gonna die on this hill. I'm sorry.
Good.
What did you think, Adam?
Well, first of all, I just want to address you using the word. Did you just use the word gelling? We were gelling. We gelled pretty well. That just reminded me of that old ad campaign for like Dr. Scholl's gels. They had all these people going, "You gelling? I'm gelling." It was one of those
what
fucking
the fuck you're talking about.
What you
meme
on
ad
about?
campaigns.
Some weird Canadian.
What are you
Dude.
on about, you goddamn Canadian?
90s kids will remember this, okay?
90s Canadian kids.
But
Yeah, do they have
that's
to be
not
Canadian?
important. Yeah, I think episode 1 went pretty well. I agree that I talked too much, which is why even before we published anything, I cut out like an hour of the episode, as you can see in the bonus episode, because it was literally just me talking. And part of that is due to just me being, opinionated on everything. And part of that is also due to the fact that we were talking about Oscar movies, and I saw the vast majority of them, and Alex
it's the
barely
subject
saw.
matter mainly. We
Yeah, we couldn't add
so-
anything to the conversation.
Yeah,
really.
I tried to.
Everything you said, mostly Adam, is exactly what I thought, and Alex hadn't
Yeah.
seen most of them. He saw Boss Baby, of course, but
Yeah.
most of them,
you.
the good ones we could barely talk about.
Yeah, I saw a nice comment that said the podcast would be great if you didn't have that I hate everything guy on there.
Oh yeah, there were
I
quite a few
appreciate
of
that one.
those. Like, can someone make a fan edit of cutting out Alex or cutting out Ralph or like a bunch of shit like that?
I have a correction to make about episode 1.
Oh, really?
Okay.
I said something that was wrong, and it's very serious.
Okay.
Didn't we all?
I confused the word inhibit with exhibit. And so when I said
What was the
that
context?
our channels, I said our channels inhibit sardonicism when I meant to say that our channels exhibit sardonicism, which so I
Are
basically
you addressing
said
this
the
because
opposite.
of comments?
It was like only one person noticed it, but I found that comment. I was like, "Oh my god, I did fuck up the English language, right?" As
No one noticed
we
it
were
until
talking
you
about.
said it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Our
But not
audience are
everyone's
fucking
gonna-
like 8-year-olds. They
No.
don't know.
I think it was clear what I was trying to say that nobody noticed, and also, I don't want to accidentally give people wrong definitions of words. I think that language is very important, so I just don't want somebody who's not that fluent in the English language to, go up to their friends and be like, "Yeah, we totally inhibit this," and then get laughed
That's very
at
true.
by all of their
You know what?
bullies who are
You
like,
learn
"Yo,
through your
dude."
mistakes.
Could you imagine being bullied over improper usage of the English language like that? Could you
I got
imagine?
bullied all the time because of that.
Oh,
It
Well-
wasn't because of my looks or my weight. It was like I used words wrong. I think I did the exact same thing you did. I used exhibit instead of inhibit, and the kids just bullied me. Yeah.
X to the Z, X gonna give it to you. Mm-hmm. Gonna deliver to you.
This is nothing what we're discussing right now.
Yeah, this is. I mean, but that's fine.
This
The
is
first-
a
Made
minor
a problem
thing.
out of nothing. No,
Yeah.
one person noticed this. One.
I was being a bit sarcastic when I said it was a super serious thing.
You know when you make a mistake and you've already posted a video and it's already too late by then, like a spelling mistake or just something really minor, and it's like, oh no.
You know what? There's obviously mistakes in my videos that I'm embarrassed about here and there.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever made a spelling mistake. I think I'm very proud of myself for not spelling anything incorrectly in my
Really?
videos. I don't
Never
think I've
once?
ever done that. Because I make sure and I look over it every single time. Because I expect myself to make a spelling mistake, and sometimes I do,
Yeah.
but I catch it in the editing process while I'm still going over it.
Oh, someone's totally gonna find one. Reddit, get on it.
Yeah.
Grab
Yeah.
videos
Watch
and
all
find
my
the spelling.
videos.
I make
Everybody,
mistakes
watch
all
all
the
my
time.
videos right now. Look for spelling mistakes.
I make mistakes, I think, every video. Spelling errors. Sometimes I read things just wrong. I kind of made a thing out of it where I just kind of don't give a fuck anymore. And if I'm wrong, there's some commenter says something and everyone likes it. I go, okay, so there's your correction. I don't really care anymore.
It's okay to make mistakes every now and
Yeah,
again.
it
you know,
is.
it's the
Like,
best way to
especially
learn.
every video. When you're a critic and you bring up points and you're just not correct. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
I don't care.
All the time. Every one of your videos, right?
Especially that Black Panther review.
Yeah.
Speaking of, if you'd like to get into it,
Yeah.
I'd like to discuss
Let's do it.
some of the BS. First of
Oh,
all,
mama.
Adam and I have posted our reviews on Black Panther.
We got
We
trending.
hate it, right? Yeah, we both got trending. I think
it
you
was
got
only in the
number
UK.
7 and I got 6, or you got 6 and I got 7, some shit like
Yeah.
that.
We're taking over.
Ironically, in the UK. Yeah, we're taking over Britain, dude.
You heard?
Monopoly.
And, God, what was I going to say? Basically, we both thought it was a 5 out of 10. And everyone thinks, we hated it, or...
Well,
I think we both agree. First of all, it's not your kind of movie, from what I heard,
Obviously.
from what I know about you. It's my kind of movie. I thought it was okay. We both gave it a 5.
what did
But
you...
I am curious as to what little Brit Bong over here thinks.
Stop calling me that.
Black Panther. No, I like it. I like the way it's... Okay,
I haven't
go
seen a
ahead.
Marvel movie in the cinemas since.
Oh, I thought that was the end of your sentence.
No, since Civil War. I've been so disinterested, but just the zeitgeist around this movie made me want to hop on down and go see it. And you know what? I was bored out of my mind, and I wish I didn't go and see it. I happily would have just watched it at home,
Wow.
where I could have paused it.
Good on you for not seeing Marvel movies in theaters as often, because
Damn.
I don't know. It's really oversaturated.
Yeah, I guess, but it's cool people are finding something to enjoy in it. But personally, I just found it to be this year's Wonder Woman in terms of superhero movies. Out of everything I am personally looking for out of a superhero movie, I got none of the things that I'm after. Be it amazing action or fun character moments and a somewhat interesting story. I just didn't get any of it. I was so disinterested, and we'll get into it, I'm sure, in more detail. But
Yeah. Would you say you liked it less than us, or would you say it's about average? What do you
I
think?
mean, if I was trying to be objective, I would say I'm pretty much on the same page. But some of the things, when I think about it, I just really didn't enjoy the movie. I don't want to lie and say, yeah, it was great. I agree with everyone else, but I just didn't. I was bored. There was a certain point where I was like, I'm so disinterested. I kind of want to leave. If I was watching this at home for the first time, I probably would have turned it off because I was so bored. Yeah, I don't know. It just didn't work for me at all.
I guess, is this a spoiler discussion right now? This can be. Why not?
Well, not.
Is there
quite
anything
yet.
Is there anything that you want to say that is spoilery? Because I can pretty much, describe all my criticisms without really spoiling the film. I don't know if you guys have
Yeah, me too.
kind of spoilery
Yeah, I think I'm the same.
criticisms or not. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No spoilers here, folks. We're just gonna talk about what we didn't like, but
Yeah.
no spoilers. Unless you consider, the line "What are those?" to be a spoiler. That's in the
Oh,
movie.
the memes.
I think that was the moment, by the way, that I just wanted to leave.
That's pretty early
I was
on.
picturing you watching that. Yeah, and just
Ugh.
going, ugh.
There's no that's not.
I confused it with the damn Daniel thing. I thought that was
Yeah,
the
you
same
did.
meme.
It's
And I'm
basically
like,
the
Alex,
same
what do you think
meme.
of the basically,
It's
all these shoe
pointing at
memes.
someone's shoes.
Yeah.
The meme.
But I would say I'm more of a fan of Marvel than you two. And I've seen all of these movies. and
I've
I
seen them
can-
all.
No, you haven't. You said the last one you saw was
I have
Civil
no.
War.
I didn't go
In
to the
theaters.
cinema to see them.
Oh, okay.
I've still seen them all. I just wanted to
Okay.
wait till I could watch it in the comfort of my own home.
Ralph,
Damn,
a
okay.
cinema is the British word for a movie theater. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Oh, okay. The cinema. I go
Yeah,
to the theater.
that's what he meant. I don't know what you thought he was saying.
Yeah. But I thought it was average, if not less than average, considering what it is. Even considering what it is. As someone who likes these movies, I still thought,
The only reason I really wanted to see it was because, wow, people are loving this film. This is getting a lot of praise, and I'm thinking, oh, great! I'm going to go see a refreshing superhero movie that's going to show me something new. And I wasn't shown anything new; I was shown a Marvel movie.
yeah, that's how I felt with Wonder Woman. And I saw it, and I'm like,
Yeah, exactly.
wow, DC
Yeah, the same.
they finally did it. And no, they didn't.
The problem is people were loving it before it was even released.
Yeah,
that
people decided they would love it before they've even seen it. People were trashing that one guy who broke the 100% Rotten Tomatoes score before the movie was even out. It's like, what if the movie
it's so
is
ridiculous.
not absolutely flawless? Have you
Was it
considered
Armand
that?
Wright? Armand White? Who
No,
broke
actually,
it?
that was the biggest surprise, is that it wasn't Armand White.
The biggest surprise for me was that I read Armand White's review, out of curiosity, and I kind of agree with him on certain things.
Oh,
Really?
I think there were some people calling it Shakespearean and politically like amazing, or like it had a profound message about politics, and I didn't agree with either of those things. I thought the characters were so simplistic and dumb. There was the kid from Get Out. What was his name? I forgot the actor's name.
Well, the lead actor.
The lead actor in Get Out.
Daniel
Yes.
Kaluuya or whatever
Yeah.
his name is.
Who I think is good. I think he was good in the movie, but his character was so like,
He was kind of
I've been
pointless.
I've been friends with Black Panther for so long, but he's gonna find Andy Serkis for me, right, and bring him back.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
kind of just see him thrown in there.
Exactly. Things don't really work out, and then he goes, Black Panther, I hate you now, and it's like, wow, what a simplistic character. You just throw away all that history that this character could have had over one thing that hardly even matters, and that's how I felt about everybody. I mean, I don't know if you'd consider that a spoiler, but
I don't even know what I would
What-
consider a spoiler for this movie. I don't even
Yeah,
remember.
I was
everything's
gonna
so
say,
predictable.
I
What
mean,
is there to even spoil?
I mean,
Yeah.
okay. If anybody, I guess I'm gonna get a little spoilery, but I don't even consider this to be a spoiler. Like,
No.
I think I should be allowed to talk about how they pretend the main character dies for like 20 minutes. It's like,
That was the worst.
okay, well, I know he's gonna be in the next Avengers, right? Like,
He's in the trailer.
it's-
He's in the
you
trailer for
can't-
the next one.
There's nobody who seriously thought, oh no, he's dead. You can't spoil that he's not dead. It's
Yeah.
funny just how they try to play it that way completely unironically. They're like, yes, he's seriously dead in the film. Like, the tone is pretending that, but it's like, I'm not stupid. Like, how stupid do you think
Yeah.
people are?
Yeah.
That's dumb.
But the worst part is he's gone from the movie for 20 minutes. And
Yeah.
it's like I came to this movie to see him, not these boring side characters.
Yeah, this
And I
is a
think it would've been-
character who really needs development, you know?
Yeah.
We
Like,
need to
he
learn
hardly-
about him.
He hardly struggles in the movie. Like
Yeah.
I was picturing a Dark Knight Rises kind of thing where he fails and he has to, train
Yeah, same.
harder and rise up and heal himself. But instead we don't see any of that. He's just like lying in a ditch somewhere and they give him some cocaine and he's better.
You know, I was getting flashbacks to Man of Steel at points. Because,
Me
in the
too.
action scenes in that movie where there's just two invincible people just, like, punching each other and there's, like, no tension or anything. And the whole, like, for the whole final, like, action sequence, I was just like, where's the tension? They're both just two ultimate, super-powered guys that just can't take damage, really. I was just so uninvested.
I can't believe I forgot to mention this in my video. They had those hologram things that were made out of sand or
Yeah.
whatever. That
Just
was
like Man
so
of Steel.
that was so stupid. It was stupid
What?
in Man of Steel. They would like these holograms would come up of people while you're talking to them, and they're like made out of sand,
Oh.
and it looks so dumb. And it's
I
like,
don't
why not
remember.
just have like them? You don't even remember that. Like, why don't you just voice communicate with them? It looks better. It doesn't look as stupid. You save money. I don't understand
even-
these studios.
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember. There's so much of that movie that I just felt kind of
Yeah,
zoned
I saw
out
it 2
for.
days ago and I can barely remember anything
Do
about
you
it.
remember the CGI rhino?
Yes, I very much do remember that. I had
It
to
was
hide
a
my
big
laughter
boy.
because I thought it was so
Oh
stupid.
my god.
It was such a big boy.
No, but like, if you're going into one of these films that has hundreds of millions of dollar budget, you're expecting at the very least the top, the best kind of special effects, And I was so disappointed
Yeah.
by visually how this film looked. Like it makes me question why these Marvel films just aren't animated, because they have to
Yeah.
make everything try and look, photorealistic, but they can never quite achieve it unless it's Iron Man, who's made out of metal, which is a lot easier to.
I like the production design of it in terms of the colors and
I
everything.
like it in
And the
theory, but in
design-
practice.
In theory, exactly. That's how I felt about everything in terms of every element of it.
Yeah.
It's like, in theory, I should like this, but they spend no time developing any of it, including the effects, which they did like one render pass through on it.
Yeah, I think you said in your video it looked like a PS2 game towards the
It
end,
did.
and I was
It
like,
reminded me
"That's
of
exactly
Cloverfield
what I was
Paradox
thinking."
again.
Excuse
yeah,
me.
yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
I had to release a demon.
Say what you want about other Marvel movies, but at the very least, a lot of them have some really fun, creative action sequences. I think of Iron Man,
Sometimes.
the way his suit is utilized for like creative action scenes at
Yeah.
points. I was hoping for that kind of thing with Black Panther.
Yeah, it depends on the movie, but the action's usually exciting. Ant-Man, that's the only good thing about it, is the action. And same thing with
Yeah.
Doctor Strange.
I was I know nothing about the character. I'm not like a comic book nerd, right?
No, me neither.
But I was kind of hoping for some, some cat like action sequences sort of thing. Not like Catwoman, obviously a masterpiece, but something. I don't know. He didn't really do much that was related to his superhero persona in terms of fighting in the action sequences. It was kind of like he might as well just be wearing any kind of costume. He didn't really do anything that justified him being a Panther.
Exactly.
No. Well, they gave his suit like one kind of interesting concept and like power, and they set it up, and then they just use it like 2 more times to do the exact same thing with no, fun choreography or creativity.
Use your claws more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think the point is we don't hate this movie, and I'm perfectly happy that other people enjoyed it. So I don't want to come across like that.
I think it's cool that that it's what it represents is good, but I don't think the actual film itself is that great.
Absolutely. I'm just waiting for them to make a better movie with the same concept.
Yeah.
'Cause I think the fault comes with the script mostly. I think if it had a better story and better written characters, it would be a better movie.
I don't want people to think that I'm trying to like take away their experience of this being, a monumental moment for representation in film history. But to me, it's like, I don't know. It's I kind of feel the way I would if Hillary Clinton was the first woman president,
Yeah.
It's like...
He's Canadian, keep in mind.
Yeah,
so.
I'm Canadian. We've already had a female prime minister, by the way. I didn't even know that until I looked it up. But anyway, like Black Panther... It's another dumb, boring Marvel movie. It's nothing special, and that's the hype surrounding it and the insistence of its role in politics over what the quality of the actual film is. It just feels so manufactured by and perpetuated by these companies that are making money off of it, and that's why I'm just a little iffy on it.
Yeah,
because
that irks me too.
It seems like a money thing, which is. Wonder Woman kind of had similar issues.
Yeah.
In terms
some
of
people are treating it as if it's important, and there are certain aspects that are important, but it's totally ignoring the film. It's ascending the film into something that I would argue it perhaps isn't when you really try and look at it with a critical eye.
Yeah, especially if you're a critic, I feel like it's your responsibility to put that shit aside and just focus on the filmmaking itself. And I think whether the movie's good or bad is kind of irrelevant in some ways at this point. And it makes me look at movies that got great reviews, like Moonlight or Mad Max Fury Road. I'm like, did they think this was a great movie like I did, or were they just on board with the fact of what this movie represents?
The agenda.
Did they like the fact that it was an all-female cast in Mad Max Fury Road, or did they like it because it's a great movie? And I don't even know anymore.
That's a big issue, and you know what? Every critic that injects politics into their reviews of the film in a way that it supersedes the actual film itself, they are all verified on Rotten Tomatoes.
You're absolutely right.
I mean, they're considered to be worthwhile opinions, and they affect the market. They affect people's expectations, and
they're the voice.
You mentioned Armand White. I've gone through a lot of his reviews just because he's a fascinating character. And it's funny just to look at how against the grain he is when it comes to whether he liked the film or not. He loves shitty Adam Sandler movies. He loves those.
Yeah.
But then anything that's universally loved that you think everybody would love, he just hates. And then and so I didn't want to just leave it as a I don't want to understand him or anything. I went and I read through a bunch of his reviews, and the impression that I get from him is that he very much puts politics into the reasoning for why he would enjoy a movie or not. And he seems to be fairly conservative. And so if anything doesn't align with his conservative beliefs in a film, he just is like, this is a bad movie. Like, I read his review for Dunkirk. He was like, this sucks because it wasn't as patriotic as it should have been. Like, what?
Yeah.
It was so strange.
What a bizarre way to do that.
You're talking about, the film, right? Like, what do you have to say about the acting or the cinematography?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
But I mean, politics do come and play a little bit with a movie, because if a movie advocates fucking, I don't know, mass genocide or something, then you should talk about the politics of it, right? But
Well, it depends.
I think you gotta draw the line somewhere.
I mean, I'm not saying don't ever talk about the politics. Like I talked about the politics in
yeah.
Black Panther, but it shouldn't
Yeah.
make the difference between whether a film is good or not. You know,
Technically well made or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If you disagree with the message in a film, it shouldn't make you be like, okay, therefore it was a poorly shot film with terrible acting or anything like that. You know, that's what I'm trying to judge, and I just get
hard.
so confused.
Like, what if someone makes a movie where Nazis are like the protagonists and they're viewed as heroes?
That would be very
go,
fascinating. I would.
It
love
would be
to
fascinating,
see something
but
like
I
that.
would go like, what the? I mean, you jerk off Michael Haneke all the time, and I saw this video of Michael Haneke. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right. I think he.
Well, you say it in the way that people could search his name up after, and I say it in a way that's still probably pronounced wrong, but people have no idea what I'm saying.
We're trying, okay?
Yeah.
We're trying Michael Haneke, but he was talking about how Schindler's List was an offensive movie to him or something like that because it took the Holocaust and made entertainment out of it. I mean, obviously it's not entertaining like a Marvel movie, but it is in some sense cathartic entertainment, you know, because you are getting some kind of enjoyment out of watching the Holocaust. Obviously you're not enjoying it in that way, but
I mean, yeah, I guess so, but that's more like that. When we're talking about Schindler's List, like that's like an unintentional kind of way of viewing it, you know? Like that's not Steven Spielberg never had those thoughts in his head when he made it. Michael Haneke
respectful.
Is basically noting an unintended byproduct of the way it's presented, essentially. He's my favorite director, obviously. And he has a lot of interesting comments on, you know, the responsibility of filmmakers, which I don't know if I fully agree with him on, but it doesn't really affect how I view the films that he makes. And it's interesting for him to have that perspective because you can see that it affects his work and, you know, how he shows violence. And, you know, he's always making very interesting meta commentaries on the audience members themselves, which I love. And so, I mean... I
don't fully agree with him either on that.
I don't
it
fully
is an
agree with
thing to think about.
I don't fully agree with him or disagree with him when he talks about, you know, the responsibility of filmmakers. I don't even know if I'm properly representing his argument. So I would encourage everybody to look up some interviews of my favorite director. And decide for yourself.
Guy.
Very interesting.
Very smart guy.
You could only get, you know, his films from him. He's not making anything that could come from somebody else. And that's what I love about him. We kind of segued off of Black Panther. I just want to confirm that
there isn't much to say about the actual movie.
To say about it.
Said. I mean, Alex probably has a little more to say because, I mean, we have full reviews of Black Panther.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to add, Alex, to this?
What is there to say? It's another Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And like, it's annoying because it's very hard to talk about now without, you know, angering a large group of people who are really passionate about it. And it's like,
but this,
it's just made
the way
it difficult.
You guys say it, you guys are like, oh, it's another Marvel movie. I look at it as from a perspective of a guy who likes watching these movies and can pick out the good qualities of them. And as someone who likes Marvel movies, I just kind of think it's like, whatever. And I'd rather watch Civil War or Winter Soldier or Iron Man.
But there are Marvel movies I like. I enjoyed Thor Ragnarok. I liked, what was the other one? Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
That's the other one.
I like them a lot more. There were qualities in that film, or those films, that I was looking for, like, at least on par kind of things in Black Panther, you know?
No.
It's important. It's not...
Those are exceptions.
I like this kind of movie, and as a kind of movie that I like, I don't think it succeeds entirely.
Yeah.
I think in some ways it does.
The ones you mentioned are exceptions to the rule. Like, I mean, this was just the average Marvel movie that people just overhyped for no reason.
It's more of a Thor 2 or Thor or Ant-Man.
Yeah. To me, my biggest problem was kind of the lack of personality it had. Like the ones I just mentioned, the writers and the directors of those films really infused a noticeable kind of personality into them. And I just didn't really get that from Black Panther.
Yeah, I mean... Again, it's an exception for you to even tell that it's directed by somebody and not a machine.
I know, yeah.
It's like
that's nice to see.
It's a fucking factory movie. It's what Hodorowski was talking about in The Holy Mountain, you know.
where they paint the butts.
Yeah, it's like this.
Are you saying Black Panther is like just painted on a butt?
That's I mean, it's the concept of like a factory art where it's not about creating something personal, but it's something that comes out of an assembly line essentially.
Someone please make a GIF of like someone painting the Black Panther logo on someone's butt from the Holy Mountain, and then sitting on the canvas.
If we're done talking about the Black Panther, we did kind of segue into Rotten Tomatoes, which is something that at the end of episode 1, I said we would probably talk about in this episode. So we kind of delved into that with talking about Armand White. What else do you have to say about Rotten Tomatoes?
What value do you guys kind of assign to Rotten Tomatoes?
I hate it. I think it's shit.
I used to value it a little bit.
Do you look at it when a film's coming out?
I'm giving Rotten Tomatoes a 1 out of 10.
Wow.
I'm giving it a rotten
rating,
review.
But do you guys look at Rotten Tomatoes when a film's coming out?
I used to every week. Now I hardly ever.
I don't, but
I've never looked at it.
I look at it because people will, make posts on Reddit and other places of like, wow, this movie's got a 90 blah, blah, blah on Rotten Tomatoes. And so I'm forced to like see a couple things every once in a while, but I don't actively seek it out. I do look at things like Metacritic more often.
I look at Metacritic more often than Rotten Tomatoes.
I usually don't, but let's hear this.
Well, so Rotten Tomatoes is a website where I always surprise people when I say this. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there's a lot of people that don't fucking know this. Rotten Tomatoes, the percentage is literally just a percentage of fresh to rotten reviews. So if 100% of critics rate a film 6 out of 10, it'll get 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I am not fucking kidding. That's insane. That's ridiculous. Whereas Metacritic,
dude, some ratings I saw they gave Black Panther a 2 out of 5, right? Which should be considered lower, and it's considered a positive review.
Oh, really?
Like a little
weird.
fresh tomato.
I don't know what their. Maybe that was just a mistake that you saw. I don't know. But again, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of their website is inconsistent. But it's
totally.
It's not even an algorithm. It's just a ratio that praises mediocrity. So, very easy, inoffensive, passable films get treated like they're the best thing ever on Rotten Tomatoes, whereas Metacritic actually uses an algorithm and takes the rating into account, the rating from the individual critics. And so the end result is a much more reasonable, accurate kind of assessment of what critics think the film is on Metacritic.
I completely agree with you.
It's not. Metacritic isn't perfect. It has its problems as well. But it's definitely.
I said it's more reasonable and accurate.
Yeah, but they also have like weighted review scores based on like certain aggregators and stuff. But
I mean,
it is much better than Rotten Tomatoes, though, for sure. That's why it's where I go just to see like just what kind of this discussion is from critics. I go there with like, okay, what do the critics think of this movie? So I can go in with a certain level of expectation.
Yeah. I mean, if a movie has a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes, I'm willing to bet it isn't good.
Yeah.
Everybody
very, very rare.
That's the point where I go like, okay, maybe we have a point here. But I think the main thing is people want this, there's this vague idea where they want a movie, they want to know the success of a movie. How successful was this movie? And it's one number is the box office rating, like how well is it doing in the box office. And then the other one is the Rotten Tomatoes score, because I think Rotten Tomatoes successfully managed to market themselves as, you will know from our site if a film is good or not, if a film is worth seeing or not. And that little tomato PNG they have on their site is a nice little symbol of that. And I don't think Metacritic has marketed themselves as well. They just got that fucking number, which I guess it's kind of more unappealing. I'm trying to figure out why Rotten Tomatoes has succeeded or all these other sites have kind of failed, even though they do the same thing.
Because it simplifies things to the point where people don't actually have to put any thought into it. It's like it's spoon-fed bullshit. That's exactly why. It's like, is it fresh? Is it rotten? It's good movie or bad movie? That's it.
Yeah.
It makes it so that no one has to think about anything.
It propels mediocrity. Yeah.
Put it this way: have you guys ever been won over, like in a debate about a film, by someone saying, "Well, look, this is the Metascore, this is the Rotten Tomatoes score"?
Of course not.
Never.
Exactly.
But
So
for
to
the
me,
Black
it's just-
Panther video, I got comments that went, well, it's got 98 on Rotten
Ah,
Tomatoes
fuck.
and it made $200 million. So, like, I mean,
Yeah.
most people are enjoying. But I'm like, that's not the point. Movies are, you can't really measure the success of a movie. And I know people are shocked by that, you know. But,
I
like,
don't know.
all it comes down to is if you watch it and enjoy it. And there's certain things you can rate, I think. But in other ways, it's just like, it's your own personal thing. And you can't have a giant site come to some conclusion as to how successful a movie is.
The whole point of critics is that there are a bunch of them, and they all have a different background and a different way of viewing the art. So you find the critics you agree with and disagree with,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you follow them. You don't just go for by this rounded off score at the end of it all.
Yeah.
You know what though? If it works for some people, if some people do find like their tastes perfectly align with Rotten Tomatoes scores, I guess. If it works for you, good on you. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Understand
It's
what
not.
it is.
It's not. It's not like
Please
evidence.
never
Though.
don't see a movie because it's got a 70-something on Rotten Tomatoes or a 50-something.
Mother,
There's so
Darren
many good
Aronofsky,
movies.
69%.
Mother,
Antichrist is
60-something,
probably
yeah.
down there. There's a lot
it's
of
just
a lot of
stuff like that.
controversial movies that are awesome.
Enter the Void, which is one of my favorite movies, has a 70-something.
Yeah.
You know.
Wait,
Because
is a
Enter the Void
70
is not for everybody.
Is a
I
70
completely
considered
acknowledge.
bad on Rotten?
No, but it's
Tomatoes.
like when you see a 70-something, you're like, it's probably okay. Let me watch the new Black Panther. It's got a 98. And it's like, no, don't do that.
God, like I've just never even considered that. Like, if I want to see a movie, I want to see the movie. I don't even think about what number it has attached to it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You know, it's got the worst, probably the worst success rate in terms of being able to recommend what films people will enjoy. Netflix.
I hate everything.
Oh, that too, but
Yeah,
I mean,
that's fair.
Netflix is kind of
Oh, God.
terrible because they don't even like. There's no logic to it. Everybody, you know, people posted on Reddit of like, why does it say that I have a 98% chance of enjoying the Emoji Movie or some shit? You know,
It
like,
literally
yeah.
makes no sense. I don't even understand. It says like this movie is a 98% match. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
I genuinely think they're just manipulating it. I
think
like.
so,
I don't
too.
think it has anything to do with your tastes because there's so much shit that it's like, oh, you would love this when it's like, clearly I wouldn't. You know, I rate
just
everything
assumed-
I see on Netflix. There should be some sort of decent suggestions. You know, like IMDb has like, oh, if you enjoyed this, then you'll probably enjoy this. Like tons of websites are able to do it very competently. Netflix just seems to be all over the fucking place.
I mean, I just assumed it was something to do with because they phrase it in a certain way. What is it? A match? You're a match with this movie.
Yeah.
It's like
I
Tinder.
assume that's based off. Yeah, like Tinder, like based on the things you've watched. And I don't know what kind of stats they track, but there must be some algorithm they use that kind of matches you with other types of people that watch the similar kinds of media and stuff. So they throw up like just random shit to
I
see
think
what
it's
you're
just
clicking on.
manipulated. I think they just
Yeah.
I think they
Or they're just
recommend
collecting
things that
data.
they want more people to see, and they don't really give a shit about whether or not you'll actually enjoy it.
It's worthless. It's a worthless like number. It's even more
It's like-
worthless than a Rotten
And then
Tomatoes
you
score.
click on like some stupid animated movie at 2:00 in the morning when you're drunk. And then you wake up and you have a whole feed of like, oh, you watched this movie, so we're
Yeah.
going to recommend these 100
fucking
other
annoying.
movies. And the feed is there for a month. Like, you would like Boss Baby since you watched this thing 3:00 in the morning. It's like, no, I don't want to watch this.
I love it when YouTube does that.
Oh,
You're,
yeah,
like,
that
you're
too.
like searching
You
something.
click on one video, and then before you know it, all on the right side is just
Yeah.
this same fucking, this guy's videos that you don't want to watch.
I can only imagine how bad it is for you, Alex, searching up like Damn Daniel and shit. My God.
It's appalling. It's so bad. You know, it just makes the whole website nearly completely unusable. You know, you just have to. That's why I go on Twitter more than anything and follow the people's like videos I want to see on there more so than
Wow.
anything else.
I have a kind of related question that just came out of nowhere. Have you guys ever needed to find like an image on Google for a review and then been like, I wonder if somebody is tracking my search results and just
Yes.
very confused about what I'm trying to find here, like laughing baby or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that all the time.
Crying children. Like,
Oh yeah, I look up.
I wonder if
looked up
there's
crying
just some
children
Google
and all kinds
employee
of-
or
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Like, what the
I've thought
fuck
that
is this
many
guy
a time.
doing?
all kinds of sick shit.
Jenkum.
Oh, I tried to buy chips, the Blu-rays for chips, and I kept getting recommended chips everywhere.
Oh.
You know.
Yeah,
Chips,
Amazon does it as
Blu-ray.
well.
Yeah.
Oh,
Everyone
man.
does it now.
Oh, you know what pisses me off? Like I'm not a huge naysayer when it comes to targeted advertising, because in my opinion it's like, okay, well, I would rather you advertise things to me that I'm actually interested in rather
Yeah.
than things that I'm not interested in it at all. But I've noticed this fucking weird trend where I'll get recommended things that I've just bought. And it pisses me off.
Yeah,
Like,
same.
I'll buy
Oh, yeah.
something, and then all of a sudden I'm getting a bunch of ads for this thing that I just bought. I'm like, can you not tell that I bought it? Is that not? Are we not at that point where the algorithm can detect whether or not I've actually bought something? Like, you're getting my information somehow. Why are you
It seems
giving
like
me
a
more
waste of
ads
an
for
ad,
shit I
doesn't
just
it?
yeah.
Oh, totally.
It's just total waste. I think it's what they're trying to do is they track whether or not you've searched for something or clicked on something or maybe even added it to your cart, and they want to get you with an ad again for the people that maybe thought about it and didn't complete their order, and
Yeah, that makes
you know,
sense.
like they had second thoughts. Like that's a valuable ad right there, because you're, you know, basically twisting their arm and reminding them like, ooh, you wanted this, don't you? Maybe you're a little drunk right now. Like
Maybe. I think computers are just stupid. I mean, it's the same algorithm that,
Yeah.
like, when you're reviewing something negatively, and then an ad comes up on the video, and it's the movie that you're ripping to shreds. You know, like you're
Yeah.
reviewing the Emoji Movie, and then 2 ads for the Emoji Movie
Yeah.
comes up in the middle of the fucking video.
I just want to point out, I think computers are stupid. Quote, Ralph the Movie Maker, 2018.
I do. I think they're dumb. I think
Computers
Skynet's
are
not
dumb.
going to take us over anytime soon.
Oh, I'm not
I
worried
think,
about that.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm worried more about a virus or a bomb, a nuclear bomb.
Oh, like
Kim
a
Jong-un.
real virus? Like an
Yeah.
airborne virus, not a computer virus?
Oh no, not a computer virus. Computers
Yeah.
are stupid.
Yeah, virus them all. Fuck them up. Yo,
What'd you want to ask me, Alex?
I just want to go back to the Rotten Tomatoes thing. I have something
Yes.
I want to ask Ralph
Lots
specifically.
of tomatoes.
It's because in the UK we say tomato, we don't say tomato.
Tomatoes.
So
Oh
when you
my
have to
god.
when you have to keep saying this fucking website name, which I never go on, by the way, I don't know which one to say. So I've just mixed it up and used a mix of the both.
tomato.
Lots of tomatoes.
Yeah, tomatoes.
In Canada, we just call them juicy balls.
No, but Ralph, as an up and coming filmmaker yourself, do things like Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes or Tomatoes worry you a bit or come into your mind?
I mean, personally, it doesn't hurt my feelings because I think if you make a movie and
No,
you're
but
satisfied
but
with your
it-
work, then yeah, I like. Who cares what people think of it? But
I'm not thinking more on that. I'm thinking more in terms of, well, if my film gets a lot of buzz through something like Rotten Tomatoes or Tomatoes RT, then
Juicy balls.
that's a whole lot more eyes onto my film.
that's true.
Because this it has a certain level of power. We've assigned it a certain level of power because of
Yeah,
what it's
that's
become.
True. I mean, it has helped certain smaller movies get noticed, you know. But it also depends on the kind of smaller movie you make. Because if you
Yeah.
make a really fucking weird experimental movie, it ain't gonna do well on most sites.
Yeah.
You know? But at the same token, maybe it does do well, and people who would never see it in the first place will go see it. So you just don't know. The point
Yeah.
is, the world is a complicated place, and we're all fucked.
I agree. And when the inevitable Skynet robot overlords take us all out, I welcome their new leadership. It's the next step in our evolution. We're screwed, but it's okay.
And we'll end on that.
That's just the end. Fuck it.
I mean, what else is there to say? We're all fucked. Like, who even cares anymore?
This
Although we are going to Mars now, so maybe there's some hope.
finally, are we actually?
That
I
shit's
don't know.
insane. We actually are. Elon Musk sent his goddamn car to space,
But,
and it's
I
heading to
mean-
Mars right now.
That's a huge gap between, colonization.
Yeah, but we're on our way. This dude, I saw some TED Talk. It was like TEDx. It's not even like a good TED Talk. And this guy's like, yeah, I study antimatter. I'm like, antimatter? And he goes, yeah, we work in a lab in a nuclear fallout shelter, and we're working on putting antimatter into a rocket, and in 15 years we'll be in like Alpha Centaurian. Before you know it, it'll be like nothing.
I don't know.
I was like, holy shit, we're in the future.
I mean, it's a lot of promises. Remember all those fucking projections in the 1960s talking about how we'd have flying cars and shit, and nobody seemed to just think about how impractical that would be.
This dude's like, we got a gram of antimatter, which is the equivalent of a nuclear bomb, and we're gonna use this to power the Earth. This gram of I'm like, oh my god, my life is gonna be so cool.
Okay. I mean, I can't. I'd have to see.
Do you guys not have anything to add on this antimatter discussion?
I think it's a lot of speculation. I mean, I would love to. I good on Elon Musk. I trust him for the most part, but I mean, you can never really tell when it's literally just,
I'm convinced this guy can do anything. Dude, he wanted to go to Mars, right? So he goes, I need some money to make a rocket. Let me invent PayPal. And then he makes $1 billion. And he goes, I need a little more money. Let me invent some electric cars. And now he made Tesla, and he made like $10 billion more dollars. And if he never needs money, he'll just come up with some random idea and make $10 billion more dollars. So I have complete faith in him.
I mean, he almost went bankrupt a couple times, but
oh yeah, because he's crazy. And then he's like, oh, let me invent an idea. And then he makes money like that. This nut job.
Yeah.
You ever see him speak publicly? He can barely fucking talk, but he's
oh yeah,
because his brain it's like on another plane. His mouth can't keep up.
It's like the movie Limitless.
We would eat those tablets.
Yeah, that's what he does. He eats those goddamn tablets that let him access 100% of his brain.
Or the movie Lucy.
Oh yeah, Lucy, where the movie ends with Lucy turning into a hard drive with all the secrets of the universe on it, and they give it to Morgan Freeman.
That's kind of funny. I never actually watched either of those movies.
You haven't? It's hilarious.
I got a lot
it's from
of
the director of Valerian. Come on,
I know.
guys.
Yeah, this is actually true. I should probably watch it. I got a lot of requests to review it when it came out, but I was just so busy with other shit that by the time I could see it, I was like, the hype is past. Could have been a good video.
I have a movie to recommend then.
Oh.
Speaking of, would you like to get into our next film discussion, or would you like to
talk
about us a bit more? Oh boy!
Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, let's do that. Let's bring it on to the next part of the podcast. This is a spoiler discussion of the film Hausu from what was it, 1977 or something?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Japanese film. Everybody should watch it. So, I mean, in the last podcast, we said everybody go watch it before you listen to this podcast. I guess you can choose not to watch it and just listen to us, but hopefully us talking about it will make you want to watch it and pause the video and come back, and it's a good experience, I think. What did you guys?
I feel like a lot of people do that.
What did you guys think about the movie Hausu?
I think experience is the right way to put it.
I thought it was fucking nuts. It's fucking bananas. I loved it.
Bananas.
Banana.
Minions love bananas.
Ugh.
I know you guys love
God
minions,
damn it.
so I just wanted to bring that up.
No, Adam, I want to start with you on this one.
Ooh.
What is your history with this movie?
Why did you recommend this fucking thing to us?
Yeah.
Whoa.
What the fuck?
I mean, I'm the reaction of you guys already. I mean, it's a unique experience.
Was it introduced to you by someone, or did you see it online?
It was
being talked about.
There's movies every once in a while that are just everything that you could possibly notice about them just screams its own personality, and so I just happened along the poster for the film. I think it was the new Criterion poster. So the Criterion wasn't out yet. I think I saw it on its upcoming releases, and that was in, I don't know. I was still living in Edmonton, and it had to have been like 2011 or something, or maybe earlier. And I looked at the poster, and I was like, wow, this looks interesting just based on the poster and then nothing else.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll figure out what this movie is. And I found a copy, and I watched it, and I was like, well, I'm definitely buying this one. So, I mean, that's how I found the movie. I love 70s style effects.
Yeah, they're very charming.
I
Not
love
good in the traditional sense, but very charming, like you
Well, I love films that can get away with being unrealistic because they're not trying to be really realistic. You know?
said.
Hmm.
I love when a film is just so out there that it has the freedom to be whatever it wants to be. I love the soundtrack. The soundtrack is amazing. It's one of the best soundtracks of any movie. It's a very
Got a little
catchy theme.
repetitive.
Really, any
Oh, it's a
movie?
theme. You know,
Yeah,
it's like in
totally.
the way that they reprise certain songs from like, you know, the Pixar's Up. They just play the same melody with different instruments. It had a theme. I think I'll look this up, but I think they actually got just some random band to write a lot of the songs
Yeah.
for the film.
I mean, it was very good. They just used the same kind of piano song a lot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I remember
lot.
thinking the music was mixed a little loud at points too.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that was
I
just
remember
me.
thinking that too. It was very artificial feeling, the whole movie. Lots of, I mean, all the backgrounds are like matte paintings or, you know, just flat out
I liked the
painted
matte
in the background.
paintings.
I did too, because like Adam was saying, it was very just the whole movie feels artificial. So when it gets crazier, it kind of fits. It doesn't go totally off the rails
Yeah.
to where it becomes like not part of the movie's universe. Everything kind of felt in place.
Do we actually like the film though? Would you say it's a great film? What do you reckon?
I
Well-
don't know.
I mean that's
Okay, put it this way. What would you rate it on your number scale?
See, this
What
is
have
the
you
kind of
rated
thing
it?
that defies a rating.
I gave it a 9. A
9?
Maybe
Wow.
That's very high.
Maybe it would be
It
an
is.
8, I guess. It's a film that I love a lot. It's one of those movies that I could just watch a million times and never get bored of
Okay.
it, and just always want to show other people this experience.
I can see that.
It's difficult to try and come up with things that I don't really like about it, personally.
I have a few issues with it.
Yeah, so do I.
Go for it.
I mean, as in terms of an emotional roller coaster, I it's crazy. It's like stepping in a haunted house. So like
That's the
I can't
best
even
thing
judge
about
it as a movie. You're just like you're on this ride and you're like, oh my god, what the fuck? What is this now? And then once you're over, you're just exhausted. And I don't have interest in seeing it again, at least not for a long time. But
Yeah, same. It's one of those
I
things that I
certainly enjoyed it.
appreciate more than kind of like, if you know what I mean. I had
Yeah.
a similar reaction to when I saw Mother last year, because it's kind of like the bottle film in one location in the house, and it progressively gets crazier and crazier. So for me, it had some parallels with that kind of feeling of just how uncomfortable and strange, and you just never knew what was coming around like every corner. That's not to say that like it took about 35 minutes for me to really get into it. I found it kind of meandering to begin with. Like I couldn't really,
It's
couldn't tell
strangely
where it was
paced, for
going.
sure.
oh yeah,
Yeah, and probably the most bizarre thing of all is the editing style.
It's
I was
nuts.
doing so, it was very confusing to me. I was like, is this even the movie? Has it begun, or is this like an advert or something? Because I did some research and I saw the director used to direct adverts for
Yes.
Japanese television. That kind of made me think, oh, hang on a minute. I've seen like videos of how like nuts Japanese advertising can be, and all of these weird visual effects started to click into place a bit more because there are things I've seen in this film that I've never seen in any other film before,
Yeah,
just
me
in
too.
terms of like technique. And I don't know if it really adds quality to the film. It's certainly something different. I don't know if it's personally something I would use myself if I was making a movie, but
Some of it's a cultural barrier thing too, because
yeah, for sure.
I mean, there are a lot of Japanese movies, not quite like this, but
Oh yeah,
like
this is
they're
not
done.
This is
They're
not
not.
the
American movies are
standard.
not made like. Yeah, it's not.
This is out
American
there
movies
even
are
for
not like
Japanese
this.
movies.
Yeah, it's like Japanese foreign times 100. You're like
Mm-hmm.
holy
Normally
shit.
with foreign films, I find it somewhat difficult to comment on how good the acting is a lot of the time, because you're spending a lot of time reading the subtitles. You can't really process the language in the same way that you would like an English person speaking. You can see the emotion, the way they're acting in the scene. There's less of a barrier. But for this film, I was noticing the odd performance that even I was noticing how I don't know, something somewhat amateurish about the odd one. There were some really good performances, don't get me wrong, but there
that
was the
felt
odd one I
intentional.
was noticing.
Again, it all felt artificial, like you're watching a commercial. And I think that added to the dread of it, because you know that once they get to this house, things are going to get fucked up.
Yeah.
I would say that there's a high likelihood of kind of serendipity rather than intent when it comes to things like that. So, you know, the terrible acting could just be that some of them are terrible actors, but it's a film where it doesn't detract from it, really, in my opinion, just because it doesn't feel out of place for what the movie is trying to be. It's such an out there wild trip that anything.
I don't think it negatively impacted it at all. I just noticed it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even portraying real people. Their names are like fucking Kung Fu and Fantasy.
Oh, yeah. I love
Mac. And they would all have like, oh, the Kung Fu girl does Kung Fu, and Fantasy has dreams about what's gonna happen. It's like, oh my god.
It's like you have all these characters that are essentially just, you know, young girl stereotypes, where in any other movie they would have the same stereotypes but pretend it's something else, pretend that they're actually real characters. But in this film, they're like, Prof is the one who's a nerdy one. Mac is the one who eats all the time. Fantasy is the one who everybody's like, oh, you're always imagining things too. It doesn't pretend to be anything else, and that's what makes it so charming, is that it's not lying to you like so many other films do.
It knows exactly what it is.
When other films have stereotypical characters, they try to pretend like that's not what's happening, and it just seems really artificial in a detrimental way. Whereas this one, it owns it, and it's like, yes, this is what I am, and I'm not trying to be anything different, and I'm proud of it.
In that sense, I thought it was really ahead of its time in a lot of ways, with just how meta it is. Like, I really wasn't expecting that. Like, at first I was kind of confused because I surface level knew about the movie, but I just thought it was a horror movie. I didn't realize the comedy aspect was such like an important factor of it. So I had to pause it and find it on IMDb and be like, okay, this is a comedy. I'm not just going crazy. Yeah. I found it very confusing at first.
Oh yeah, confusing is a great word to describe this film.
But again, that adds to the dread.
Oh yeah,
because it's so. I'd say most of it, for the first half anyway, is upbeat, and then she finds that decapitated head in the well, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? And then from there, the movie went just bonkers.
You know,
and I can see how this movie kind of inspired other filmmakers. Of course, I don't know for sure, but there was lots of like something terrifying's going on, and they'd hard cut to some, you know, sweet piano scene or like something heartwarming.
It makes it so much better.
Yeah, I can't help but feel other filmmakers have seen this and been inspired by it.
You know what I realized this most recent time I watched it? Because I rewatched it, I showed some friends. I appreciated just how effective it is to have juxtaposing emotions when you're trying to provide a sense of terror and confusion. So whereas most films, sorry, I'm dying. Whereas most films, a lot of, you know, very uninspired, you know, kind of straight horror films, they'll have jump scare cues that are not ironic in any sense. They'll have scary cue music, not just like orchestral hits, but they'll have this eerie like, da-da, or like the string instruments like, you know, and whereas this film, it's more terrifying because you're seeing something that you know is fucked up, undebatably, and you know that in your brain, but the music that they're playing is this happy kind of like joyful, poignant, emotional kind of.
It's weirdly lighthearted and kind of positive.
Yeah, the tone of the music is very lighthearted, and to have that juxtaposed with like body parts flying out of the fucking piano and blood everywhere and shit, and it's crazy, and I think it adds more to terror because it makes you feel like it's fucked up. You know, I love having something juxtaposed. That's part of why. You know, that one scene from American Psycho is really effective where, He's chopping a dude up with an axe to the song "Hip to Be Square." That's why Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs, that one scene with the ear cutting, is so effective. Is because it's juxtaposing, and the film doesn't have to. The film doesn't have to try and manipulate you because it's confident in what it's showing on screen. That it doesn't have to try and be like, ooh, let's try and make them scared by have like scary music. You don't need to be manipulated because what they're showing is actually fucked up already. And I love that.
Absolutely right. The end of the movie, I mean, on paper is a sad ending, but it's portrayed as like a happy ending. And then there's a music video at the end of the film. And you're like, well, what?
My favorite
and that made it
song.
More effective.
Yeah. I love that song so much.
Song.
When the windy-haired girl comes back, the stepmom or whatever. The mom.
Yeah.
A lot of the on paper kind of plot is a little hard to follow with like what's happening with her dad, and like her mom died and.
I was a little confused as to why that was even in there.
But yeah, I mean,
it doesn't really have an impact on anything.
Yeah.
It's weird because it's so hard to follow, but it's not what the movie is. Like that's almost just beside the point.
There was just like these weird little, like that whole thing with Mr. Togo, who was like the mystical figure who would come and save them, and they'd like cut to him just like eating noodles, and there's a bear behind him. What is this now?
That was so bizarre.
And then you never see him again.
I love when the film has the end title on the screen and the horseback riding. Where the movie just pretends like it ended and then it didn't.
Yeah, that was great too. It was so inspired. The sound design was excellent. Like, there's so many, like there were like laser sound effects when the doors were closing at the end. It was nuts. This movie invented memes. There was that cat. What? It had the first cat remix ever. Or the piano.
Meow,
the
meow,
cat was
meow,
on the piano, and they reversed the footage and forwarded it. I'm like, this is the first cat remix ever.
It's a fucking trip. It's a fucking trip.
And the skeleton, dancing skeleton, that's a meme now. It reminded me of the skeleton with the trombone.
This is what I mean by it being so ahead of its time. If it wasn't for the like dated effects in it.
Even for the time, some of the effects are really good.
Yeah,
I think the fingers on the piano look pretty cool.
Yeah, that looked good. Yeah,
there's a lot of shit that was
some
just
of it
really...
obviously doesn't.
I mean, if it looks fake, it doesn't take away from the movie too. It's just it feels so in place in the universe to be able to tell that it's green screened and shit. Like it doesn't take away from it.
It reminded me a lot. I guess to someone who hasn't seen it, it's a lot like watching an Adult Swim. One of those weirder shorts they have, like the Too Many Cooks or the bear one.
Yeah,
so
that's a good comparison.
The one where the girl's falling in the floor or whatever. It reminded me of one of those. Yeah, just
and
odd,
terror.
Odd.
I do think like modern horror directors should like watch this film and take notes, because a lot of the way horror directors are directing these supposedly scary scenes. They're so sort of stagnant now, There's no creativity in terms of how to freak you out. And if anyone's like
it's
the best in the world at freaking you out, it is the Japanese. They have quite a unique mindset.
I wonder if this was the first usage of the whole like creepy black hair thing.
Yeah.
Remember in the hot tub?
Yeah.
Where it like and now you see it in movies like The Ring and The Grudge and a bunch of other what used to be considered the stereotypical Japanese horror movie.
I didn't find the film particularly scary. I found it weird when I was watching it, but upon just thinking about it, the ideas and when you try and break down what you saw, it is kind of creepy to think about. There's certain images that stick with you.
Oh man, that's perfect because.
To answer your question, Alex, I don't know if horror directors should take notes from this because it's just so its own thing, and I wouldn't even call it scary.
I mean, I don't mean like copying it, but just the presentation of how they go about trying to scare you. That's all I mean. Just trying to think out of the box a little bit, just to see that it can be done in a different way.
And not with jump scares and everything creepy.
Yeah, exactly.
And playing the violin.
Yeah.
In every movie. Oh, God.
I'm glad that you have that reaction to it. Alex, because part of the film is really about the idea of processing really fucked up things that have happened.
Yeah.
And I forget. I tried to find this video. I don't know where it is. There was a really nice analysis video. It might have even been like officially on a Criterion YouTube channel or something.
Yeah.
It was talking about how a lot of the intent from the director was trying to essentially mirror Hiroshima and Nagasaki, like the atomic bomb, and having your friends and everything in your life stripped away from you and not even knowing what the fuck just happened, and like trying to process loss and grief and things just disappearing and not even understanding it. And so
in that sense, it feels kind of like a dream, doesn't it? Or a nightmare. Just like Mother again. Like I thought that was the film that captured what nightmares feel like the best. But upon seeing this, I think this might even go above it in terms of just how uncomfortable and strange, and I don't know. Like I didn't really find it funny or scary at the time. I just didn't. I was it's just like jaw agape. Just all of my brain power was being used on just trying to comprehend what I'm seeing. You know,
like toward the beginning, the first half hour, we were all laughing and going like, "What the hell is this?" But eventually, we just stopped and we were just sitting in awe of it.
You have a kind of guttural reaction at first, and like, this is weird. I don't think I like this. It's so unconventional and unique.
It's like
and
your
strange.
brain's trying to like repress it and remove. Like, oh, this is just funny. Don't even worry about it. This is silly. But then eventually, your brain's like, oh god, he's not looking away. He's not looking away. We're in for a fucking nightmare. Yeah.
No, it does kind of grab you by the balls and hold you there the whole time.
I never looked away. I held in my pee for most of it because I didn't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
This film is a fine example of what can happen if you actually give unique, crazy ideas like art house films a large budget. This is something that it's such an absolute rarity because you can't get anything like this funded. If your idea is too crazy and out there, you won't get money for it. Yeah. And that's
what I was good. That's what I was thinking throughout the whole thing. I was wondering how did this get made? Where did the money come from for this?
He sold it as a horror movie. Absolutely. He went, oh, this is a movie about a couple guys or a couple girls in a house, which sounds boring as shit. But then he tells it his way.
The film company Toho was supposedly looking to create a blockbuster horror film, kind of to have Japan's own version of Jaws. Supposedly, there was somebody who
that's right, yeah,
who was in our subreddit that posted a bunch of background stuff on this. They said it's like their third favorite movie.
Do you know what it reminded me of? I've been to like art exhibitions in London before. And sometimes they have video kind of installments. I could picture something like this being in one of those installments. That's the kind of feeling I got from it. A lot of the time, just like you're just seeing something so unique, so weird, and it's making you feel something quite, I don't know, different.
Very unique.
I think it's a very important film for film history. I think if you're interested even remotely in film, it's a must-watch for sure. Mm-hmm. Crazy fucking movie.
Is there anything else to say? I mean, I highly recommend it.
It's quite a fucking trip, and hopefully this discussion has gotten a bunch of you guys interested in watching it. If you haven't seen it already, please check out this movie. What do you have to say about it, Alex? Anything else?
I personally, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm liking it, which is always a good sign.
It's definitely like a multiple watch.
A thinker, yeah.
Kind of
movie. And I only watched it today.
On you for sure.
Yeah, I only watched it today, so I haven't even had 24 hours to think about it
wow.
yet. But I do wonder if it's one of those films that wouldn't quite be for everyone though. Like
of course.
I wouldn't blame anyone going into this and being well, that was dumb. I didn't like that at all.
It's worth a try to figure out if it's something.
It's
that's why I'd recommend it.
You can't.
There's still some images that are stuck in my brain from when I saw it.
Same.
Ago.
It's one of those movies where you just have to tell someone to watch it because there's nothing you could compare it to. Where you're like, oh yeah, if you like this, you're you're not going to have a comparison that you can really give to people. It's its own experience. And I love movies where it's like there's nothing else like it. That's what I love so much about this and so many of the other films that I really appreciate is that they're their own
it's such a rare
experience.
treat to be shown something you've never seen before.
Yeah, which is why I don't like the Black Panther, because it's the same shit.
Yeah.
It's just the same shit I've seen a million fucking times.
But Black Panther
Yeah.
made 200 million, and I bet Hausu didn't make that much. And I bet Toho
Yeah.
saw the movie and went, "Oh my god, we spent money on this."
It
What have
made
we
like
done?
no money, and like 3 people reviewed it, and then it was for some reason somewhat more successful in the U.S. and then eventually just had this cult thing over a long period of time. That a lot of amazing films are just panned when they come out and then later appreciated.
Yeah.
When they're dead. How nice.
Yes.
They're like, "Oh, at least Adam from YMS likes my movie."
Yeah.
I'm sure they really care about that.
It's one of those films where understanding the creative process is kind of difficult. For a lot of films, like take Black Panther as an example, it's you can very easily break down the process of how that film was, structured and put together and made. Whereas with this, there's a lot more of this is one guy's vision. He had this idea and he made sure to follow through based on what he thought. There's no interference from anyone else from what you can kind of tell from watching it. But
How, as a director, do you even explain this to somebody?
Oh yeah.
I
How
don't
do you
know.
explain
gotta-
this to this whole crew?
It's one of those things where you just gotta have faith in the person making it and hope that they know what the fuck they're
works
doing,
out.
even if
I
don't
was thinking
understand
about
it.
I was thinking
Oh my
about the
God.
actors during certain scenes and just imagining like the production crew just being like, we have to do what?
Okay,
You
now
want me
bite
to
her
cat-
butt.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, you're a head. You're a
What
head that
about-
came out of the well. You need to bite her ass now.
And then the aunt comes in in a wheelchair and she gets up and she's like, "Oh, I can walk now." She's like, "Yeah, I was tired."
Yeah, and then she goes into the fridge.
Pretend like you're being attacked by all these mattresses we're throwing at you.
Just bizarre,
God
but in a
bless.
good way.
All right, now stuff yourself in the piano.
Yeah.
I-
We'll make it look good in post.
Yeah, so this is the scene where the piano bites your fingers off, all right?
It's
I like
crazy.
how she kept playing the piano without her fingers.
Oh yeah,
But once
Yeah.
the piano took her hands, then she couldn't play anymore.
Yeah.
She was
Man.
upset.
I love fantasy horror so much. It's
Yeah.
like no rules.
same.
You can just
Yeah.
do shit that would be really fucked up and scary. Nightmares don't make sense. Those are the scariest. Those are the scariest parts of a lot of people's, weeks. It's like having a really shitty nightmare.
Yeah.
It's like that's
I find
sure.
that more abstract things scare me. Than,
oh yeah. It's
and
more
literal.
scary when you don't understand what's happening.
Yeah.
100%.
If you can't rationalize it, then it's truly just fucked up and confusing. Like you don't understand it. That's another reason why I loved Under the Skin, and I don't really want to spoil anything from that movie, but the way that they
Please don't.
I'm not really going to spoil anything, but they kind of play on the idea of the human beings in the movie not really having any fucking clue what's going on, and you as the audience member presenting things in a way where you don't really fucking get it, but there is something there.
Yeah.
It's not just made up random bullshit for Under the Skin particularly, but it's a lot more terrifying when it's like, what the fuck is going on, I feel.
Under the Skin is like one of my favorite movies.
Awesome.
So we got to talk about that one day.
Alex, have you seen Under the Skin 2014?
For some reason, I started watching it, but had to stop. I've never seen it all
Was
the way
it-
through.
Was it because of the Scottish accents?
No, I understand Scottish accents. I love Trainspotting. It's one of my
Yeah,
favorite
aren't
movies.
you Scottish?
Those were fucking difficult for me to process, let me tell you.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch it for ages. I just haven't got
Well,
around to it.
You should get on it.
One day.
Fine.
Recommend it.
I guess that concludes our Hausu discussion.
Hausu.
And I guess we're going to go into some questions. There's some questions.
Yes, sir.
I have
Um,
right here.
Ralph's
We're doing
got
great.
Ralph's got questions. He went through the questions. I didn't.
Yeah.
So if they suck, it's his
We've
fault.
only been
They better be good.
recording for
Ah!
like an hour and 20 minutes, and I got tons of questions here, so we can just go through as
fine.
many as we
Well,
feel
I
like
don't.
it.
Did we even really figure out how long we want our podcast to be anyway?
Oh, I have no
Like,
idea.
it's
Just
like
however we feel like.
Over, we've got definitely over an hour from even edited down. We've got over an hour so far. It's I don't know. I'm sure it depends on what the questions are. They could be really simple or complicated answers. Who knows? We'll just keep going until we feel like it. So.
Yeah, you guys are lucky you got one this week, you ungrateful bastards. Adam woke up drunk as hell for you people.
Yeah, I mean.
Question number 1. This is from Eli Bozeman. What's your favorite musical score from a film?
Who boy? The Lion King's up there.
Oh, yeah?
People often
I like
overlook the actual composition from Hans Zimmer. Was it Hans Zimmer? I think it was Hans Zimmer for the Lion King.
I think so.
Yeah.
It had to have
Probably
been.
I think so.
People often overlook the actual score of the film when normal dialogue's happening because it's a film that also has musical scenes in it. So most people remember Can't Wait to Be King, Just Can't Wait to Be King, Hakuna Matata, blah, blah, blah. Those are the most obvious songs. But the songs that are the most important to me in the film are the ones that are being played over the action or the dialogue scenes. The fucking intensity of the stampede scene. Oh, my God. The music in that. And, obviously the death of the father character.
Spoiler.
Mufasa. It's 94. Everybody fucking. There's no. That's like
You just
saying
ruined the
Bruce
film for
Willis
me.
is a ghost, right?
Yeah.
You can't. I wish I had the ability to not spoil that for people to be able to see that movie in a way that isn't spoiled. But it's I don't think that's possible at this point. Yeah, it's 1994, but the knowing that happens doesn't take away from the movie. The fucking music that they play when Simba's Dad. it's insane. It's very emotionally effective, and
That's a choice I wasn't expecting. I'm glad to hear that one.
Oh man,
Yeah.
it's often.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. A lot of people consider it to be amazing. I shouldn't say it's often overlooked, but I think a lot of people.
It's not one I would jump
remember the
to,
music in.
I might have to give it a listen again to remind me.
Oh man, it's so good.
Alex?
I cry every time.
Can I only say one?
You can name a few, because I have a few.
I have loads that I really adore.
Try to narrow it down 2 or 3.
Basically anything Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross do, be it The Social Network, Gone Girl.
Nice.
You sounded like you were
hard.
going to pop in then.
Oh, no. Well, I love them, too. But it's hard to... Because it's also how well does the song fit within... Or the score fit within the movie itself. Because some of these are weird fucking soundtracks, Under the Skin has an amazing soundtrack.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know if
she's
I
very
listened
talented.
to it, and
That,
and
like-
jam
Yeah.
to it.
I forget her name.
And, Mika Levy.
Yeah, she did the soundtrack for Jackie also, I think.
Yes,
That was
which is
really
pretty
cool.
good. But Under
think-
the Skin is fucking excellent. The
Oh,
music
man.
in that. Oh my god.
What a unique composer. I like her a lot.
Yeah, I love her. Anyway, sorry,
Is
Alex. Go back to you.
You know, a soundtrack I really like from a film that is not very good at all is the Tron Legacy soundtrack. You guys heard that one?
yeah.
Oh, Daft Punk.
I think that's an amazing soundtrack. It's not just like a repetitive Daft Punk song. They went all out for it, with a
Oh,
full
man.
orchestra. For a score of a film, they really upped their game, I thought, for that. And it's a shame that it's that film that it's attached to and it's not something
Something
like a better film, because I think it would be propped up even more. But I think it's one of those rare cases where it makes what would otherwise be like a really forgettable, lame film actually
year was that?
somewhat better. 2010.
Yeah. So that was before they did Random Access Memories then, isn't it?
Yeah, it was through the orchestral stuff with Tron Legacy that
Oh.
kind of inspired them.
Oh, that's really cool.
yeah, it's cool.
I've never loved Daft Punk enough to listen to any of their full albums except Random Access Memories, which I love a lot.
Really.
I
One of
love
my
that
favorites.
album. Oh man. It's
But Tron Legacy, yeah. It's like I said, it's hard to determine because that movie kind of stinks. And the soundtrack is so much better.
I just listened to the score and just imagine whatever the story I want to go with it. Like,
Imagine a better movie.
Exactly, yeah. I just imagine
that's
my own
funny.
shit.
You should
man.
remake it.
I've got to shout out John Williams as well. He's my weakness.
There's a lot of
Star
good
Wars is an
composers.
obvious one.
A lot of good composers named John. It's like John Bryan.
John Bryan.
call
Oh, John Bryan. The Eternal
Bryan's
Sunshine of the Spotless Mind soundtrack is gorgeous.
Johnny Greenwood.
Johnny Greenwood.
Yeah.
God, who else?
There's a lot of good Johns out there.
That's two.
That was
I mean,
three.
well,
John
that's three.
Williams.
John Williams.
Let's see. I don't know. I remember there being more, but there might be.
Oh, the Rango soundtrack is pretty excellent. That's one that's often overlooked because it's
interesting.
an animated movie about a lizard. But Hans Zimmer did that again,
Oh.
and it's a really inspired Western. Takes a little bit of Ennio Morricone, a little bit of Hans Zimmer's signature style. I think that score this might be one of the best things about the movie.
Yeah, it's good.
I've only seen it once, but I would
Yeah?
like to see it again.
Oh, it's terrific. And then Trent Reznor, Social Network. That's a great one.
How do you guys feel about the Lord of the Rings soundtrack?
Oh yeah, I love. Man, did you guys watch that video that Every Frame of Painting did on the Marvel Cinematic
Yes.
Symphonic
Yeah.
Universe? And it's just
I
like,
found that very interesting.
man, the Lord of the Rings also just came from a time where the soundtrack just played such an important role in the movie, and I'm starved for more big blockbuster films where the soundtrack really matters. I also find it interesting. I don't know if you guys remembered the when did you guys ever watch that in theaters, or were you like too young or what?
No, I was
Lord of
too
the
young.
Rings?
Lord of the
Okay.
Rings?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
I remember at the end of the first movie they had that kind of remake of what was it called from the Requiem for a Dream? Was it called Lux Eterna or something weird? I don't remember.
Lux Eterna.
They had
Yeah.
they basically remade that with a whole orchestra, like da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, and that got so popular. It was so weird, but at the end of the movie, they were basically showing like a trailer for the Two Towers and fucking Schmeagol dancing around.
That's the one they use in every stock epic music
Oh man,
compilation.
it's one of those
Lux
songs that just
Eterna.
got way too popular.
No, you can't use it in anything.
I hate that. I hate it when songs get ruined. I've talked about that a few times in my videos.
Now when I hear it, I just laugh, which is sad because it's just such a great composition.
Oh yeah.
Except in Requiem for a Dream, where it works.
Oh
Another
man,
great score.
that's a fantastically scored movie just because of how fucked up the soundtrack is. Like it's so unapologetic in just how jarring and uncomfortable it wants you to be feeling, and it works with the visuals and the whole story and everything happening in that movie so well.
The movie's supposed to make you feel anxious. That's
Oh,
the whole
man.
point of it. And that soundtrack does an excellent job adding to that.
What a crazy experience of a movie. Fucking Clint Mansell is so great.
He is.
Yeah, it's good.
It's another one we gotta shout out.
Yeah.
A Black Swan.
Mass Effect
Amazing
3.
score. Oh, Mass Effect 3, yeah.
Yeah, he's done a lot of cool shit.
Good ones.
Have you guys ever heard the soundtrack from Take Shelter?
No.
I watched the movie and I forget. That's one of
something
those movies that I
about
really
that.
enjoyed, but I've only seen it once.
Something about the music from it stuck with me. It's like kind of quiet and downplayed, but it reflects kind of the themes of that movie, which I like.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Oh, I'll have to listen to that one then.
Man,
Schindler's List is another one. There's so many great ones I could go down.
Just
Fucking-
anything John Williams does, to be honest.
Yeah.
fucking
Anything.
Jeff Nichols seemed so fucking promising, the director of Take Shelter. He seemed so fucking promising when Take Shelter came out, because the only thing he had made before that was Shotgun Stories, which was a pretty good like indie thing. And then he made Mud with Matthew McConaughey, which I just thought was kind of
was pretty
lame. It was lame. It was kind of bad. The
Okay.
I was
fucking,
disappointed by Midnight Special.
and then and he's just getting worse and worse.
Midnight Mediocre, more like.
Ouch.
Am I right?
Oh, got him.
Got him. You got him.
It Follows? It
what's
Follows?
Oh, great
Do you like
soundtrack.
that soundtrack?
Oh, yes. That's
Disaster
one of the best
Piece?
things about it.
Yes,
Really good.
Masterpiece.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about Disaster Artist for a second.
No,
Like, oh,
That's
Disaster
the name of
Artist.
the
Yeah, that's
fellow
the name
who
of the
did
guy.
the music for It Follows.
Michael Giacchino's inconsistent, but I think some stuff he does. He did The Incredibles. which has a great score, I think.
Really good.
And he did Cloverfield, the original. I know Cloverfield has no
What?
music, but the
Like
very
at the end credits? Yeah.
the end credits
one
has
song.
music. And
That's
that
so
end
funny.
credits song is fucking awesome. It's like inspired by Godzilla. It's the most epic thing.
Yeah,
And
it's
of
so
course
weird.
the rest of the movie has no music, but that was damn good.
Excuse me. Bringing it back, good time soundtrack. Fuck yeah.
Oh yeah,
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
very good.
Now we're just going through great soundtracks. We
Yeah.
should cut
I
it
don't
off at some
care.
point.
I don't really. I mean, if,
We all get one more.
if the question inspires a discussion, that's not a bad thing.
I
Yeah.
guess so.
So
Do you guys
we're
like
just
the,
listing a bunch of great soundtracks. Whatever.
Do you like the Studio kind of Ghibli ones like Princess Mononoke? Do you like that one?
Never seen any of those, and I know I should get on it.
Really?
Never seen a Ghibli.
Yep. Never.
I
Princess
would
Mononoke
recommend
is a really good soundtrack.
Mononoke and Spirited Away. There's some that I don't really like, and there's some that kind of feel like they're just making the same movie and over and over again. But
Those are the two I
don't watch
recommend too.
Ponyo.
Yeah, don't
Ponyo's
watch it.
bad.
I heard Ponyo's
It's just for
not good.
kids.
It was just made for babies,
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
like Marvel movies. I know I'm like exaggerative when I say it. People got really offended that I said that they're for
Yeah.
children. It's like,
Well,
yeah,
you're right. They are
they're-
for children.
they're
Just
not
adults
like-
them too.
Yeah.
they're not for like 5-year-old children, but they are for 10-year-old children. Come on,
Yeah.
they are for 10-year-old. You know, it has a great hipster soundtrack. Her
What? Yes.
Arcade Fire.
Another great score.
Can I interject with another kind of question before we get on to the next one? I think we've all kind of said what we
Sure.
want to do about this one.
Sure.
So I talked about the difference between the orchestral score in The Lion King versus the actual songs themselves where they're singing in like a musical. Do you guys have any favorite songs from actual musicals?
From
Like your favorite
musicals.
soundtrack for a musical or something?
Does it have to be a movie?
Does it have to be a musical?
Because I like Broadway musicals a lot.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm fucking gay.
What do you mean by does it have to
Like-
be a musical, Alex?
I
know.
do you mean
Yeah, I like it.
a like bespoke song for that movie? Or,
Yeah.
just a really good soundtrack for a movie.
A really good soundtrack for a movie where it's characters singing and not just an orchestral score in the background. Because
I always liked the Nightmare Before Christmas songs.
Ooh, that's a great one.
Yeah,
I love
those are
the
always
songs.
my favorites.
Jack's Lament. Oh, so good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
If it's counting musicals, then I think mostly everything from Les Mis, which is such like a white girl answer, but whatever.
Well,
I like Les Mis a lot.
this episode sponsored by White Girls.
Yep.
That's our sponsor of the week is White Girls. I got
yeah.
White
Oh,
Girl
I like
wasted
a lot of the
last night.
songs in the South Park movie as well.
Oh yeah, those are
They're
terrific.
really good.
I'm trying to think of songs from movies. I think most of these musicals are based off of musicals from Broadway anyway, so it's not like it matters.
You know what's a musical where the soundtrack makes the entire fucking movie? Is a 2007 film, I think it was 7, maybe 6, called Once.
Yeah.
Once.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Is that the one with Anne Hathaway?
No.
There's this movie Once with Anne Hathaway, I think.
It's, I forget the guy's name. He's like an Irish musician that he made the soundtrack with this other girl. And basically, the movie is about these two characters who are musicians in the film. And they, eventually start liking each other and record an album together. And the songs that they write and play with each other are part of the musical, and it kind of plays in with other scenes. It's very cool. But
That is
at the
interesting.
same time, the soundtrack just makes the whole fucking movie. Like it wouldn't be very special at all if it didn't have one of the best musical soundtracks ever. It's like how do I describe it? Kind of like alternative, like folky kind of rock stuff going on. So it's a very unique kind of feel for a musical. Have you guys ever
If you're
seen
gonna count those, I'd say Inside Llewyn Davis as well.
Inside Llewyn
What it
Davis?
is.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Although
I really like that movie.
I'm not sure I would consider that as much of a musical as
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
I
totally
don't know if I
not,
call it a
but-
musical.
it's not really. It has songs made for the film, and the character's a musician. But yeah, that's another great soundtrack. I love that. Fare thee well, my honey. Have you guys ever seen Dancer in the Dark by Lars von
Nope.
Trier?
No.
Oh man. Well, I might recommend that at some point for discussion. Then I just won't say anything about it now.
Okay. Lars von Trier movie.
Oh yeah,
These are usually pretty dark, but we'll give it a shot.
it's the one. It's the one that made Bjork never do movies ever again.
Wow.
It was
Okay.
She made, while all the Me Too stuff was happening, like really early on, like after the initial Harvey Weinstein thing, she made a Facebook post where she was like talking about the emotional abuse from a Danish director who she did not directly name, who directed a movie she was in. Here's the kicker. She's been in one film. So it's like not naming him is just hilarious. A Danish director. Like you've been in one movie. I wonder who she could be talking about. Oh my god. Yeah, I don't want to say anything about the movie because I might recommend that whenever I get the next chance to recommend something.
I think we answered that question
Hell yeah.
very well. So let's move on to the next one. This is by Ryo Knight 101. Any lesser known YouTubers you would recommend?
Do they have to be movies?
I'm looking through my subscription feed right now. Oh no, not movies, just anything.
Magnus Prophecy makes some really good Criterion related videos. He made an awesome breakdown on the production of Brazil and Terry Gilliam's fight
Nice.
for creative freedom versus the studios and how things went down. That's pretty lesser known. Shout out
That is
Maggie.
I mean, I don't know what I'd count lesser known.
Yeah, what is lesser known? Does it have to be under a certain
Well, let's
amount?
see. How many subscribers does Magnus Prophecy even have? Let's check this out.
Let's say under 200,000.
Okay,
I
Magnus
guess I'd
Prophecy
say
has 3.5 thousand. So just over 3,000
Okay.
subscribers.
okay, that's quite low.
3,500.
Okay. See, a lot of the channels I like too are also like they just make short films once every 2 years. So I don't know if
Yeah.
I'd count them as YouTubers, you know?
Do you not have a good answer, Ralph? Like, are you? Because you chose
You asked
these
the question.
questions.
Yeah,
I'm
I know I
confused.
chose them. I
You
just
chose
wrote
these
them
questions.
down
You
and
didn't-
then forgot about
You didn't
it.
think about it.
No.
I'm just. You stumped yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Alex has an answer. So let's
Yeah,
let's
I'd
listen to
say
Alex.
Lord Bung would be my one.
I know
Lord
that guy.
Bun.
He made our fan art. Well, not he made a fan art of us, our superhero kind of versions of ourselves.
That's right.
Even
yeah,
though
yeah.
we weren't, we
Oh.
didn't release the podcast yet, but we were all next to each other in this fan art
Yeah.
thing, which is kind of funny.
But his videos are really good.
Yeah,
you can tell a lot
that's
of
the person.
effort and work has been put into them.
Yeah. What about you, Ralph?
Next.
Nothing? You got
Jesus.
nothing? You've stumped yourself.
There are a few, but I like H Bomber guy. He's got
Oh, yeah?
200,000 subs. He kind of looks like Macon. My fucking character.
He's an interesting
him.
guy.
There's this guy Noah Caldwell Gervais.
Huh?
He doesn't really edit his videos a lot. He just kind of talks for an hour and a half about whatever game or game series he feels like talking about. He's a
Yeah.
very smart guy though. Audio quality's not good or anything, but he's like very interesting to listen to. And then there's this guy Yamikin Hori, who all he does is make like claymation movies. He's got 12,000 subs, and he made this movie called Junkhead, which is 30 minutes long, and he's trying to get made into a feature, which I think is fucking terrific. So
Oh, cool.
I'll recommend that.
Dank.
Those are all the younger up and comers I know.
Little baby boys.
Like I wouldn't even call those. I mean H Bomber guy. I would call like a YouTuber proper.
Yeah. He makes YouTube videos.
He does
Consistently.
The rest of them, I don't know.
Some people just use YouTube as like a dump.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's
just like,
that's how I
eh,
feel. About
Put it somewhere.
short
I don't have to
formats.
keep it on my hard drive. It'll just be
Yeah.
just throw it out into the world and it's there. And now I can access it no matter where I am.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. This
Yes.
is by FFS Fion. Which is your favorite Star Wars film and why?
Ah, fuck.
Basic question.
Adam, you go
Basic
first because
question,
I
but
know
I'm
how much
interested.
you love Star Wars. Go on.
know,
Go on,
Yeah,
you
I
Star
want
Wars
to.
fan.
I want to hear
Everybody's
Adam's
just
answer.
gonna get
'Cause I
pissed
think
off
he
at me
hates
no
all
matter
of
what I say. But I mean,
Yeah.
What's your most?
Let's do least
No, I-
favorite and most favorite.
I
'cause I'm
kind of have
curious.
an answer, but I just no one agrees
Okay.
with it. It's Out of all of them, I mean, like, first of all, let me just preface this by saying, like, I don't really give a shit about Star Wars. I really don't, and that's I mean, that might have played into why I didn't hate the newest one as much as a lot of people did. Is just because like I'm not like a nerd when it comes to like the whole lore and like this is how a Jedi should act kind of conversation. Like I don't care about that. But before Episode 7 came out, I rewatched all of the originals, and I had seen them before, but they're just very. I don't relate to them hugely.
Yeah.
I kind of just I watch them and then just they're out of my mind pretty quickly after. And so I watched through the original trilogy consecutively, and when I got to the third film, what was that one called? The Return of the
Jedi.
Jedi. When I got to that one, I was enjoying myself more than the other two, and I enjoyed myself more in that movie than any of the other Star Wars ones. And I know I'm supposed to say that the second of the original, like Episode 5 or whatever,
Empire.
I know I'm supposed to say that that's my favorite, and everybody gets mad if somebody says that another one's their favorite.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of people seem to consider the third of the original trilogy as the worst one. I don't know. I've had more fun watching it. It was the only one where it felt like there was any consequence to these fucking stormtroopers shooting people, because in none of the other films they ever hit anybody. In this one, they actually fucking hit one of the characters, and it's like, oh wow, I'm actually in a universe where there's consequences, and it's not just dancing around and dodging shit and nothing matters. Like that's part of why I loved that one more. I was like, hey, there's consequence, fucking finally. Jesus.
Yeah.
That's my answer, I guess.
The main issue with the sixth one is that once they rescue Han Solo, he kind of does nothing the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
That's like Ewoks, I think.
I don't consider any of them to be like amazing in terms of what it means to me. Like they're amazing for its cultural impact and the special effects for the time and what it did for movie universes and creativity, and there's so much that it inspired, and in that way, obviously, they're amazing films. But I just, the films themselves, detached from the cultural impact and detached from everything that it inspired, they don't really mean much to me. And it also makes it especially more annoying just how fucking overhyped everything attached to the series is at this point in time. It's like you can't even fucking turn it off. People expect so much from Star Wars because it's like, this is the greatest franchise of everything ever made. And you got to be more realistic, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
Too true.
Well, Alex?
My favorite one.
Yeah. And we can talk about least favorite too after.
Okay, that would be a fun one. But my favorite is A New Hope, I think. You have to give props to the one that started it all in a lot of ways. And if you discount Empire, a lot of the other Star Wars films are just sort of a remake of A New Hope in a lot of ways, or just take elements from it and rejig them.
More
and
like New Nope.
Yeah, exactly. I did used to put Empire a bit above it, but I watched it somewhat recently, and I don't know, I just think A New Hope's more of a complete film. You can watch that one on its own without having to jump into any of the others. So
I think people didn't like the Ewoks also. Sorry, I could just
in the sixth one.
Yeah, because they're really
I know.
bad.
I just that thought just entered my mind. I'm like, oh yeah, that's another thing people don't like about the sixth one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I kind of.
Yeah, I'd say A New Hope probably.
So we all actually do have different answers, which I wasn't expecting. I thought
we disagree with each other on things.
Yeah, I mean, we all agree original trilogy, MVP.
OT baby.
Yeah.
Okay,
I do agree with you, Alex. 4 is way more complete than 5 is. 5 kind of leaves you on that cliffhanger. It's a good cliffhanger, and it doesn't feel like a, I don't know. It doesn't feel like come back for the next movie to give us money, It just kind of it felt more genuine than that.
Yeah.
It felt like you want to see where these people go next. It felt more like a story, I don't know how to say it exactly. It didn't feel cynical. I love 5. 5 is my favorite one.
What the fuck is up with that ice creature that hangs him upside down for no reason?
The Wampa.
That was just an excuse
because
Mark Hamill got in a car accident and fucked up his face. So they had a Yeti. They brought in a Yeti from the Disney ride, and they're like, "Let's have him scratch his face." That's how George Lucas came up with.
Yeah,
it's like, let's just have a Yeti and scratch him in the head.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
That's all that was.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god. No
I
wonder
mean,
no wonder it
it was
seems
probably-
so weird and out of place and stupid. No fucking
It was just an
wonder.
exciting little thing.
my God.
I love Empire. That's my pick.
I do as well.
Now that I think of it, I'm not sure that I stick with my answer. I think my favorite is actually the Christmas special.
Oh no.
I've never
We're
seen
gonna
it.
count the Christmas special. Then.
I've never seen it, so
I have. It's not even.
I
it sounds
have.
hilarious. It's infamous.
What about the worst?
So, not counting the Christmas special, what's the worst one? Let's count the. Real
Oh,
movies.
I'm not allowed to count that one.
No. that doesn't. We're gonna forget about that one.
You know, this is another thing where it's like everybody would want me to say the newest one, but I don't know. It was fine.
Oh yeah, Last Jedi is
I
not
was just,
the worst one.
you know, I was just
No,
passive about it.
that's ridiculous. If you think Last Jedi is the
A lot
worst
of
one.
fucking people really think that. I don't know. A lot of people are like saying they're divorced from Star Wars because of it.
My roommate thinks that I should have him on one day because he fucking loves the prequels. He
Oh,
can't
crazy.
get enough of them.
Oh, man.
Yes.
I'll never.
we have debates that go on for 6 hours about how bad they are, and he loves them, and he thinks the new ones suck because they're not
Interesting.
consistent with the universe and the politics don't make sense. And I'm like, who gives a fuck about the politics of it?
When I moved
Yeah.
to Vancouver, I moved into a place where there was an ad on Craigslist like looking for a roommate. I was like, yep, did it. Like moved to another province and moved in with a Craigslist roommate. And his favorite movie was Star Wars Episode 1.
Episode
I'm
1.
not even kidding. His
Wow.
favorite movie of all time. And he said that,
Jesus.
and I was like, oh, cool. And I
Just moved out.
I was like, here, and I went on
Moved
YouTube.
out. Burned the fucking place to the
that was-
ground.
I opened up the Plinkett review on his computer and was like, oh, you should watch this. And then
Oh yeah.
I left the room, and then within like a minute, he turned it off. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's the thing with prequels fans. They don't.
I didn't want
want
to be a dick.
No.
Yeah, that's what I did with my roommate, and he just went like, "No, I can't watch this." He went, "Ree!" and shut it off.
Nice.
They can't handle the
solid
criticism.
re.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear that theory of like if Jar Jar was secretly a genius and as though
Yeah,
Sith.
I did.
They had-
It is kind of convincing.
they might have had like the idea of that, but then they abandoned it because people didn't like Jar Jar so much that they were like, let's not have him be as important to the plot. That's a really cool fan theory, and I kind of
I actually fully believe in that theory.
Yeah.
I'm going to go
I
in there
feel like
full-
the movie probably would have been really cool if that theory actually played out.
Yeah, I was
know?
thinking how awesome that would be. Like everyone would love Jar Jar then. Like, oh, he convinced everyone he was a buffoon, but he actually was this evil guy behind it all the whole time. And how
Yeah.
unpredictable is that?
It's his George Lucas's whole thing was the poetry and the rhyming. He would have been the anti-Yoda. He would have been the anti-Yoda though, isn't it? It's the same thing but in
Yeah.
reverse. Like he's pretending to be someone
It
else
rhymes.
who is,
It's like poetry.
but he's actually
like poetry.
the strongest villain instead of the strongest goodie.
That's
gonna
kind
be
of cool.
great.
No, yeah, it's a really
gonna be
interesting fan theory. I suggest everybody listening search it up. I don't know. There's like a big Reddit
What's the
post or
worst Star
something.
Wars though, guys? We've got to decide.
Well,
either
I
one or
mean,
two,
it started into a
so.
conversation about we just started talking about the prequels, obviously. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's in there somewhere. I just remember, they're so forgettable. I think probably 2 is my least favorite because it's the one I remember the least, and I've seen it. I've seen it like multiple times too. Like I've seen it like maybe 3 times just because I keep fucking forgetting what the movie is, and it's like, oh well, I guess there's a reason for that. It's just boring.
Yeah,
Attack of the Clones or
think-
whatever it was called.
I think 2. 1 at least has Darth Maul, which looks kind of cool.
The double lightsaber.
Yeah, at least that's neat.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
It'd be so easy to
there's
hurt
some,
yourself.
Like, funny, cool things in there.
Man.
And 2 is just fucking awful. 2 is so boring and has some of the worst dialogue ever. I mean, so does 1, but like. I don't know.
3.
3's
Is that-
funny though. People unironically like 3. I like 3 because I think it's a fucking comedy.
Is that the one where Anakin's talking about sand? Is in 2?
That's 2.
It's 2, yeah.
That's the best scene.
If I was being objective, I'd say 2, but my least favorite one is 3.
Oh really?
Okay.
Yeah,
Why is
because
that?
because of the weird break that it gets. When it's, in my opinion, it's just as bad as one and 2. Like,
People were like, I hate it when people are like, no, this one's actually good. Trust me.
Yeah.
Like you've thoroughly been upset at these other 2 films in the franchise. Well, now's your time to give it another chance. And then it's like,
Yeah.
oh well, this is basically the other movies, except
It's
there's
laughable.
There's
It
a
is
bigger
laughable.
fight.
I
A
will
bigger
say
fight
three
scene.
is probably the most confusing and poorly constructed one because it starts with
It's
the
tone deaf.
battle. It starts with the battle.
Yeah.
And they show General Grievous and you're like, who the fuck's this guy? And
Yeah.
then Count Dooku dies in the first 10 minutes of the movie. Spoiler.
Yeah.
And then, like, from there, a whole other movie starts. And again, like you said, Alex, it's tone deaf, where it was, like, trying to be funny and silly and
That scene where Count
serious.
Dooku dies, he's beheaded, and in like a couple of shots before that, there's R2D2 flying around like setting droids on fire, going and it's like
doing,
what
like,
are you
slapstick.
doing? Yeah.
Whoop.
That's why it's my favorite of the prequels, because it's so bad, it's funny.
Yeah,
I think
it
he
is
just
funny.
gave up. Let's see. Next question. This one is from Super Slight Lyoff. Roger Ebert infamously said once that video games can never become art in the same way that films, music, or literature can. Do you agree with this or disagree with it?
Disagree.
I completely disagree. That's just
I completely disagree.
there's
too.
plenty of shit that Roger Ebert has said that I've disagreed with. I mean, he had a very important legacy, and he was a very important critic, and he's very
definitely
poetic.
inspired all of us to do what we're doing now.
Yeah.
He's
But
one
I
of the
think-
major influences.
I think that his comments on video games was just an example of him being an old fart and being detached.
That's it's as simple as
from
that.
shit.
Uh-huh.
Because like,
I mean, not that video games can't be good in the same way movies are, because any game that tries to replicate what movies are just fails spectacularly. But it's saying it can't succeed as an art is ridiculous in its own way. It can.
well, yeah. I mean, the problem is that not only are video games still progressing in what they can be, but Roger Ebert, he wasn't playing any of the right fucking
Yeah.
games. Like if you read his comments on it, and even he made a second article of people getting mad at him, and so he responded and was like, "No, I stand by what I've said." And he was using examples of things that people told him to check out. They're like, I was told to check out this indie PS3 title called Flower, where the flowers just wafting
It's a
around in
weird
the wind. I'm
example.
like, that's not the first. Like, yeah, sure, it's artistic. That's obviously art, but it's not the first thing that I would recommend to someone to try and convince somebody that video games are art.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've got
it's a weird thing.
I got more to say about this, but you guys say some shit.
He obviously doesn't play games. It's just as simple as that. Like, he just doesn't know what he's talking about. You know?
Yeah.
There's nothing
Well, he
more
has
to
the-
say, really.
He has the mindset of like a film. Again, I keep coming back to this because video games can never succeed in the same way that any of these other art forms do. Because all these other art forms basically have this level of disconnect with the actual thing that you're viewing. Because you're more of an observer in all of these things. And video
Yeah.
games, you become essentially the protagonist. Which is why I think
Oh,
I don't know. I'm trying to think of like
Well-
story games. You know, like I can never put myself in a main character's shoes in a video game because it's me essentially. And
that's
like,
very
matter how
interesting. That you
no
say
matter
that.
how the game decides to
Really?
define me. In the end of the day, it's me playing, and I can just fucking do whatever I want.
Well-
like in GTA, they try to portray you as a good guy, and then I could just kill people like immediately
Oh, yeah,
after, and
that's
there's no
always fun.
repercussions.
That's why I like GTA
So it
5
doesn't
is it
work.
didn't try to do that. GTA
Yeah.
5, all the characters were they didn't try to be
Horrible.
good people.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Or even in GTA 5, like you have friends in it, and then you fucking run them over with a car, and then the next, like you get out of the hospital, and they're like, "Hey, don't do that again," when they should be dead. There's
it's-
always
Yeah.
that disconnect there.
it's funny, but I mean, when I think video games as art, what you're saying is essentially true, that they will never be able to present themselves in a way that a film would and give you the same experience. Like, that's true. But by being in the perspective of the player, you get an entirely new experience out of it. And so there's games
Yeah,
that
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying like it's totally different, and Roger Ebert is completely just on another wavelength.
there's games that
Yeah.
exist that really take advantage of that. One of my favorite games ever is The Witness, which came out 2015, 2016,
Let me look
2017.
this up.
The Witness, it's by Jonathan Blow. That is, I can't spoil anything, but like that is one of the best examples of video games being art and using the medium of a game and understanding that there is a person in the perspective of the player and using that to its advantage. And it's not a story game. That's what's crazy about it. It's not trying to be, a Heavy Rain or Last of Us or anything. It's its own experience, and it's so fucking difficult to describe. But all I've got to say is that everybody should fucking play through the game, and even when you get past the point where you think it's ended, keep fucking going, because there's a lot of crazy, purposeful, insane meta shit going on in this game. It's actually genius. I would consider that game genius. And what sucks about it actually is like you can't even get to to what I value so much out of it unless you like puzzle solving. So if you go into the game and you've played the first 10 minutes or whatever, and you hate it, and you hate the puzzles that you're doing in the game, then I guess just put it down and look up something online. But it's such an important experience to play through yourself. If you like the puzzles, then you'll get so much more out of it just by playing through the whole thing. I cannot recommend it enough. It's awesome.
Alex?
I find it kind of... He's choosing his arguments without even really considering it properly in terms of there's a lot of overlap with the process of making, a film and a game. Like a game has writing, films have writing, there's production design and artistry and, concept art and all sorts, CGI. There's loads of overlap there. So purposefully ignoring that is just kind of ridiculous to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a stupid argument to make, because that's that, when movies came out, there were people saying similar things about movies not being art, when it's like, okay, well, if we can agree that an actor's performance can be art, if we can agree that, aesthetic design choices can be art, if we can agree that a soundtrack can be art, if you're agreeing that all of these things that are present in this game are already art separately, how does it all of a sudden become not art by combining them together? That's what's stupid about it.
Exactly.
You can't. Yeah, it's a dumb fucking thing to say, but I mean, he said some dumb things before, but whatever. He was a great guy. He was a very inspirational boy.
I mean, who knows? Maybe something will come along in 50 years, and we'll be the same way. I mean,
we will be saying that's not art.
We can only hope.
I mean,
that
we could
we'll
say
be
that
above
with Vine
that.
or whatever.
Yeah,
Vine ain't art. Fucking hate that shit. Oh, Vine's gone now. That's
I mean, anything's art. To try and make the argument that
that's
something's not art, it just seems
not
like a
art.
silly thing to try and do. Like, why is it important to you that you can say that it's not art? Mm-hmm. You can say it's of lesser value than other art forms if you want. Like, I consider, factory Marvel movies to be of lesser value than other artistic experiences that I've had, to me personally, especially. But it's still art. It's still art. It's factory art.
Still,
but
that's
it's still
a personal
art.
thing. Yeah. We got one more question here.
All right.
Because we're doing pretty well on time. So I think one more is warranted.
This is a comfortable length for an episode, I
place to
think.
end. Yeah. So, what are your favorite TV shows? Oh, this is from The Last Secret, by the way. The Last Secret asks, what are your favorite TV shows? I'm going to count ones that are on right now and then ones in general. What's
so
your
which
favorite
first?
One?
Or just
Whichever one you
of all,
want.
just of all time?
Who gives a shit? Yeah, of all time, and then we can narrow it down to what's on now.
We should probably just get Breaking Bad out of the way. Is that on all of our lists, right?
Yeah, should we say Breaking Bad's disqualified? Because I think all three of us would probably say
No,
Breaking Bad's
I
the
wouldn't.
best.
No.
Oh, really?
No, I
Okay, well,
I
Breaking
disagree.
Bad's my
Wow.
favorite.
Really?
There you go.
You wouldn't put it on?
No. I mean, I fucking loved the shit out of the show, and I own it, and I'm gonna watch through it again at some point. But there's pretty much all of season 2 just sucked for me, in my opinion.
Really?
Really?
Season 3 was I was only watching season 3 because I was still entertained and wanted to see where it was going, but was expecting a total train wreck. And although half of season 3 was kind of a train wreck for me, it wound up getting better. And then season 4 was the best season, in my opinion. And season 5 was awesome. Season 1 was awesome. But yeah, season 2, dumpster fire. Season 3, half dumpster fire,
A little harsh.
recovering
I
out of
think
the dumpster fire.
I think the end of season 2 is a little weak with the I'm not going to spoil it. There's a plane related.
Yeah,
thing.
it's yeah. Like
That
was
bothered
fucking
me.
dumb. There was a lot of dumb shit that happened in season 2 that was just like, come on.
And the fact they tried to
Fuck
build
off.
up to it was even worse.
Oh
They
yeah.
made you think something big was gonna
the
happen.
fucking clips
That
at the
killed
beginning
me.
of every episode. Oh, that was
Yeah.
so poorly
And you're
done.
like, oh man, what's going to happen? And then
Oh,
it's just like
man.
some dumb shit.
It's just dishonesty.
That's
yeah.
the only problem I have with the show.
Yeah.
The rest of it's excellent. All these
Yeah.
shows are going to have problems. Listen, making 50 hours of entertaining TV is
Yeah.
very hard. So, like, for me to find, I don't think any show's perfect, but, you know.
What about Better Call Saul on the same line?
I hate it.
It's,
You hate it?
wow.
It's so unnecessary and unimportant, and does not really capture anything I loved about the original. I watched through the first like 3 or 4 episodes of Better Call Saul, and they just
I really like Better Call Saul. I
I
think
do
it's great.
too. I completely
I don't-
disagree.
I think it's very
I
well
think
written.
I can't enjoy it. I tried.
I think it's a totally different. It's trying to be a totally different show than Breaking Bad.
I'm sure at
which
this
is
point
something I
it's
love about it. It's
completely
so
different,
much
but-
slower, and not that Breaking Bad isn't character based, but there ain't nearly as enough. There's not as much violence or
That was one of
gunplay or
my
crazy shit.
criticisms is
It's-
that it was really slow. I
Yeah,
felt like
well-
barely anything had happened in the like here. I watched through
But
the
I
first.
find that so interesting that a show
Yeah,
can
so
just
do I.
take its time like this. Like it's fucking. We're like 4 seasons in, and barely anything has happened, which I love.
Here's.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I've only seen the first like I don't know 4 episodes or something, but the impression that I got from what I saw was that it would have worked much better if the episode lengths were like halved. Like what? It's like a 40-something minute show, like an hour long.
I think so,
thing.
yeah.
And I know Breaking Bad was of that time frame, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it kind of just felt obligated to be in the same time frame, and then just the
I
what
totally
happens over
disagree.
the course of a single episode is just should have been in a 20-minute show for me personally.
But that's what's great about it is that it takes like I'm telling you, not much happens in the show. Like
The
barely.
characters
What
are so
happens in
interesting.
3 seasons of Better Call Saul happens in like 5 episodes of Breaking Bad.
It's
But
not.
you watch these characters just slowly shift and turn on each other and gain
It's
alliances.
so
here.
satisfying.
It is.
I get that, but it's like it requires you to really give a shit about what's going on, and for me, it's like I really don't. I really
Yeah,
don't. There's
that's
nothing
fair.
that earns it for me. And if I'm gonna have a show or a film, there's plenty of movies I love and plenty of shows I love that could be considered slow. What I want out of that, if you're gonna have something slow, is I need some like amazing cinematography or something really substantive to just keep me going and keep me chewing and interested, and not just like waiting for something to happen. Like I don't watch Game of Thrones either. Like I'm not interested in this whole like hold out for just keep watching
No,
10
I
more
love the
episodes. I
production
swear
of,
something will
Better Call
happen,
Saul.
Adam. Like
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
love
really
it too.
interested in that shit.
I think, the
I think it's
show's
really
gorgeous.
stylish. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's not my kind of thing.
I mean, a lot of people agree with you, but I think
Yeah,
it's,
I understand it,
it's-
but personally, I don't think
it's
feel that way at all.
so. It shows. I love that shows are doing this now, where it's not like the episode of the week, and we got to get like Aaron Sorkin, because I listened to him talk, and he talked about television, how you have to get all this shit out of the way in the first 5 minutes to get people invested.
Yeah.
And Better Call Saul is so slow, and Game of Thrones is so slow. I mean, not in the traditional sense, but Game of
Yeah.
Thrones really
They're
doesn't pick
unbearably
up.
slow for me.
It doesn't pick up till the end of season 3 is when Game of Thrones gets
Oh,
really good.
see, they're just I can't.
I know
I see
that's
why
I could
that's
never
nuts
do
to you.
that. I'm not like
it's really good prior to season 3. Like it's always good, but season
just-
3 is when you realize it's all been building up to season 3, and then from there it's a release.
I already know what happens anyway, and it's like I don't know. I watched the first few episodes of Game of Thrones, and I was like, wow, I do not give a shit about anything that's happening right now. And I just like I don't want to feel an obligation to continue watching like 50 hours of shit so that I can start to care about something because apparently it's just so great that I care about it. Like I don't want that kind of fucking investment,
Wow.
Especially if it
Well,
continues and
I
it
can
starts getting
understand that.
shit anyway.
I can understand it too, but I don't know. The thing is,
It
Adam,
didn't
with
do
both of
anything
these
to
shows,
earn my
with
interest.
Both Better Call Saul and Game of Thrones, I started watching them and then stopped like around episode 4 and then left it for a while and then ended up coming back and watching the whole thing again. So I don't know. Maybe it's just you gotta wait for the whole thing to come out and then you feel more urged to just kind of watch the whole thing at once. Maybe I don't know, but that's what happened with me with both of these shows. It's all right. You're allowed to be wrong
I have more.
sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I am.
What were you gonna say, Alex?
One of my favorites is The Shield. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that one.
No,
I've heard of
I
it.
have not.
It's like a police drama thing. It's very good. It's another one with like just really interesting characters that propel everything forward. And 6 Feet Under as well.
I love it.
I really,
But I haven't
really
seen
like
it in
that
so
show.
long.
It's been a while, yeah, but that's a very, very good show as well.
I was holding out for a Blu-ray that never happened.
Oh, did it ever
They
come
haven't
out?
released a Blu-ray of that?
I thought
such
HBO
a
would do it
big
eventually. Well, apparently not. Not as big as The Sopranos, you know. So
Dickheads.
I was
Well,
I
speaking
was
of-
waiting for a fucking Blu-ray, and it just never happened.
That's lame.
That's a shame.
Yeah, Ralph.
Sopranos, beside Breaking Bad, I think
Oh, nice.
Sopranos is mine. Which, again, they kind of, toward the end, it kind of falls off the rails, and they realize they've ran out of ideas. It went on way too long. And I think they had a lot more planned with the mother character, and unfortunately, the actress who plays her dies in season 2, or before season 2 started filming. So that kind of plot thread is just left by the wayside, and kind of everything is in the show. But beside that, characters are great, and it's incredibly entertaining. Again, it's got that Italian charm that I love.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your favorite shows on right now? What's something you turn on right now? Like, oh, I can't wait for this to come on, and you sit in your fucking chair or whatever.
Nirvana the band, the show.
I
I did a video on it. Sorry,
I
what
want to
did you
shout
say
out.
about
I want to shout out Kenny versus Spenny too. I love Kenny versus Spenny. You introduced me to that shit.
Nice.
I love it.
Yeah, Nirvana the band, the show is awesome. It's like probably the best current show. Maybe, I don't know. It depends what you're looking for. I really love
it
it.
does.
Yeah, in terms of like shows that aren't on anymore, 6 Feet Under's up there for sure. But it's just like I haven't seen it in so long. I don't even really remember like the last time I saw it. I could completely drastically change my opinion by the time I watch it again. I don't know, but it's 6 Feet Under is a very important one to me for sure. Awesome show. Everybody's been. I said I would make a video on this show, and a lot of people are waiting for it. And I'm trying to. I just watched through it again, and I'm gonna try and find some time to squeeze this video into my other video schedule. Moral Oral. Have you ever seen it?
Oh yeah.
Moral Oral.
It's great. Yeah, that's the guys who made Anomalisa.
Yeah.
One of them.
Yeah, Dino Stamatopoulos, he produced Anomalisa, but he didn't really have his hand in it. He kind of just threw money at Anomalisa.
It wasn't the same animation people who did it too? The director, Charlie Kaufman.
The Duke Johnson worked on Moral Oral,
and
I think he directed some episodes, or maybe he directed the like special before Oral or whatever. But yeah, I would... Moral Oral, the 3 seasons that there are, I would highly, highly recommend watching all 3 seasons in order. Yeah, all
Absolutely.
3 seasons. You have to watch all 3 seasons, and the episodes are only like 11 minutes long anyway, so it's just like it's the length of a long movie anyway, so it's not a huge investment. But man, they really fuck with you. They really fuck with you in that show. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's another one that takes time to get started. I mean, it doesn't get really good till season 2.
But it's not.
That's when it gets like how iconic it is now. I mean, cult classic.
Just what makes the show insane and just something that no show has ever been before is shit that you need to watch all 3 seasons for. But it's not like episode 1. It's like nothing happens. It's like it on its own. The whole first season, second season, all that shit. It's a very hilarious, watchable show, regardless. So it's not like don't treat it in the same vein as like, Game of Thrones or something, where like literally nothing happens. Yeah, don't treat it the same as those, because Moral Oral is almost like 2 experiences in one, and it gradually shifts into the second experience by the time that it ends, and it's one of the most unique experiences I've ever gotten from any kind of show ever. You've never seen anything like it before.
Alex?
I was big on House of Cards until the last season sucked, and now that's all ruined. But now we've got Mindhunter though.
Yeah, that's good at least.
I was big into that when that was on, and I also saw another show called The End of the Fucking World,
I've heard good things.
recently. The first
seen it, though.
episode, I started watching it and was like, this is really kind of embarrassing. But it does sort of have a payoff. So if anyone's put off by like the first 10 minutes of the show, just get through it, and then it does get a lot better, and it's really thoughtful and nice.
It's like Mindhunter too. I thought the first episode was super weak. And
Yeah.
picks
I
up a
normally
lot.
give shows like 2 or 3 episodes before I'll give up if
Yeah.
I'm not getting on
I
with
give
it.
them like half a season.
Yeah.
It really depends. There's some shows where you can tell it's never going to get better, but there's
Sure.
other shows where it's like, depending
Yeah. Well,
on where
if it's-
things
if
go,
it's
this
Young
could
Sheldon,
get
then
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, yeah.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. Young Sheldon, favorite show.
What about Fargo? Do any of you guys watch that one?
I don't
I-
like that show. Someone
watch
asked
it.
Alex because
You
I
didn't
don't
watch
like
it?
it. I don't like it at all. And someone
don't
said
like
that
it?
you
TV
did.
show.
No.
Yeah, I really
think
like
it's, I think it's like someone saw the Coen Brothers and like, oh, I can do that, and some fucking moron
From
threw
the
it together.
from the first season?
From the beginning of the second season was like laughably bad, and I shut it off. I couldn't take it.
Really?
The special effects are bad. I don't like the way it's shot at all. I don't like the style of it. I don't like any of the characters. I like Martin Freeman in it, and I like Billy Bob Thornton, kind of.
In the first season, yeah.
Yeah, they kind of helped me through it, but I thought the plot was so boring. And just like, yeah, okay. You
My
took the
favorite
charm of
season was the
Fargo.
one from last year,
The second one.
the third one, with Ewan McGregor as the main
Oh, they're
characters.
already up to season 3?
Mm-hmm.
My God.
I really like it.
Okay. You can be wrong too sometimes.
Oh, wow.
I want to get into my favorite show right now.
Go on then.
Because I love this shit. It's Mr. Robot, which I bet neither of you have watched. I hope.
I watched the first few episodes of that show as well, and then gave up.
Oh my God. How, dude?
Because it didn't. It was like the first episode I watched, I was like, that was all right. Kept watching, it just continued to be all right, and I was like, well, I don't like the idea. Like, I obviously have very different opinions on TV shows, it seems. I feel like I'm being manipulated sometimes. Like, the shows are dependent on me caring about things that they don't earn. Mr. Robot was just one of those things where it's like, it's decently shot, the acting's kind of all right, it's fine. I like the main guy, I forget his name, Rami or whatever. The
Rami
actor
Malek.
is Rami.
Elliot.
Yeah, it's all well made, but it's just like there's nothing to keep me interested in watching the next episode, really. I really don't care where things wind up going. It looks like a very decent, all right experience that if I continued the whole thing, I would say like that was all right, because that's how I felt watching the first 3 episodes. That was all right. I don't know. Say what you want about it.
I just love, well, first of all, it really takes its time. I love shows that, I think we differ kind of in this way. I love shows that plan the whole thing out, one grand story, and then just kind of take its time with every little element. I mean, you say they haven't earned certain characters, you don't like them yet, and they haven't earned that. That's because Mr. Robot really knows when it needs to do that and when not to. And it spends the whole first season on Elliot, basically, and all these other characters are just there to serve his little bullshit story going on. And then season 2, something happens, and it really focuses on everybody else. And then season 3 becomes about, like, it's not even about the main characters anymore, it's about some other political movement. I mean, they're still going on, they're still active in it. But it's also a show that, we were saying earlier how there's certain games that can only, they use the medium of video games to, you could only
I get what you're trying to say.
Yeah, essentially tell the story by, only a video game could tell this story. And
Yeah.
Mr. Robot feels like it uses the medium of television in such a creative way to be able to tell a story in a way that no other medium ever could, you know? And
Yeah.
I think it's just fucking brilliant. I think all the acting is great. The way it's shot is unlike anything else. I mean, I know it's King's Speech, but
I mean,
the framing style anyway. But I adore it. I think there's nothing else like it, and it might be my favorite show when it's all said and done. But I gotta give it 2 more seasons.
I don't know.
So-
I'm just not. I didn't feel it. It feels like people have lower expectations for shows than they do for films. That's all it feels like to me. Is I
Wow.
watch shows in the same way that I watch movies when I'm judging all qualities of it. And I'm not trying to imply like, oh yeah, everything needs to be short. Like there's miniseries that I recommended on my last 2015 list video, obviously, that were, lengthy, but there was nothing about it that would make me interested if I were watching a film, and there's nothing about it that it's just a really passive experience. And I feel like if it was a film, I just think like, man, I would have been done this thing already. Like I don't want to have to continue watching it when I'm just not getting anything out of it.
Yeah, well, it takes.
You can't convince me that using those words.
Yeah, I know.
You can't do that.
It's
That's always
just
what you have to do.
it just takes Act 1
Keep
of a story
watching.
essentially and stretches it out, And
I think-
love that.
I
It's
think-
like we're gonna tell a movie, but we're gonna do it over 50 hours.
That's
instead
fine. And you know
Of,
what?
2.
If it's okay, let's put that into perspective then. So, let's say it's a 50-hour movie, right? Mm-hmm. The first 3 episodes, I say that with a lot because I think 3 episodes is a pretty fair amount of time to dedicate for something and determine whether or not you want to keep going for a television show.
Yeah,
If let's-
sure,
if-
in the traditional sense, but not for Mr. Robot.
Let's say
Because by episode 5, it gets fucking nuts, and you're like,
well,
what is this?
let's say an entire season is what I should have watched. Let's say
Okay.
that. Let's say it's let's just even be really generous. Let's say like a 30-hour experience of a movie. Let's say that. I think that watching the first 3 hours of that, like if we translate that into a film, like there's plenty of movies where I watch the first 20 minutes and I'm like, there's nothing I give a shit about, like, and I just wind up turning them off. I don't think that there's anything wrong in doing that.
Yeah, we differ there.
It's like
'cause
I
I thought
wanna-
Elliot was a great character, and I wanted to follow him through anything.
It was
that ended the first
mildly
episode.
intriguing, but there was nothing that I gave a shit
Okay.
about.
That's fair. That's fair. Alex, you should watch it.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Yeah, the first like 20 minutes of a movie, you should be able to judge whether or not you want to keep watching.
Well, I'd say by the end of a pilot episode, that's the inciting incident, right? Kinda.
Oh yeah, but I watched
So,
past that. I watched the first 3.
At first 3, okay. So
Yeah,
first,
I watched the first 3 to determine whether
we
or
can
not I
do
want
the
to keep
fucking
going.
math all we want, but we're never gonna get it quite right.
Yeah.
And then there's some episodes of Mr. Robot that are just complete waste of time, but they're great.
Oh, okay.
There's an episode in season 2, like in the middle of season 2, where it turns into a sitcom from like the 80s, and like
That's
most
weird.
of it's completely pointless, and it serves kind of a point thematically toward the end, but overall it's pointless. But it's such a fucking great little episode.
I just wanted to get your guys' opinion on a show that I feel was great and then immediately turned to shit. True Detective.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
God!
Yeah. The second season was just bizarre.
So how many episodes of the second season, Ralph, did you watch before you decided you didn't want to continue? Or did
I
you watch
watched
the
all of
whole
it.
thing?
I watched the whole thing because I like
Did you
to give
have-
Yeah, me
TV
too.
a chance.
Did you know that you hated it within the first few episodes of the season?
I hated Vince Vaughn basically
Me too.
instantly the moment I saw him, and it only went down from there. So Vince Vaughn was completely. I'm not even sure what he was or what he did, to be honest. I didn't know what was happening through most of the show. I thought Colin Firth was kind of good. But yeah, the whole thing felt to me like it wanted to be a trippy, weird LA show, but it also maintained that serious, somber tone from the first season that worked so great for it.
Yeah.
And it ended up just being like this fucking mesh of just like, it didn't know what it was or who the characters were or what it
Yeah.
wanted to be. And it just
It was really
kind of
weird.
failed on every
It just,
level.
it
a
had
total
nothing going for
miscalculation.
it.
It was
Not that
miserable
there's
too.
Oh, miserable. Absolutely.
It was
and not
absolutely
miserable in a
miserable.
good way like
No, no,
the
no.
first season was.
Yeah, the first season was compellingly miserable.
First season
the
was
second
awesome.
season was
That was a
just
great
miserable.
season of a TV show. It was its own miniseries, really. It
Yeah.
feels
Yeah.
wrong to call them seasons. They're like separate
It
shows,
does.
basically.
I feel like they should have just... Because then there's the show The Night Of, which is very similar
yeah,
in
I've seen
tone.
that.
Yeah, and it's great.
It's excellent.
I would consider that more of a True Detective thing than I would fucking the second season of True Detective, even though there's not
same.
really a detective in it. And that's that. We have made it to the end. We now get a movie recommendation from yours truly, Alex.
This is
Brit-
the very end.
Yes.
So I've been stuck on 3 different choices
Ruh-roh.
So I'm gonna. It's because I was telling Ralph I really want to pick a movie that at least one of you two hasn't seen.
Good luck.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I said. I said you've fucking seen everything, so I don't know what the best would be to pick. But I'll just say the genre, and you say which one would sound more interesting to you. Okay?
Oh, what? Oh,
Dude, just pick one. We'll watch it.
Okay.
Because I mean,
He's nervous. We're gonna go like, we've seen that, and we scoff at you.
We're gonna bully him.
It's just a
We're gonna
film
bully
that,
you about this.
Okay, this is the one I'll choose then. It's a film that I find it's quite important to me, and I think there's a lot to say about it. It's a little movie called This Is England.
Interesting.
Haven't seen it.
I'm aware of the
seen it?
director, and that's on my watch list, but I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen it? Oh, hell yeah!
He found one!
I did it!
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh
okay,
my
okay,
God.
I'm happy. I made the right
that's
decision.
been on my watch list for a while. So
Okay, awesome.
That's good.
Perfect. Brilliant. Okay,
Good.
that's my pick then. This Is England. Check it out.
Okay, cool.
In time for next
yeah,
episode.
Shane Meadows. Thanks.
Yeah,
So
I'm curious what you guys will think. It's very English, and if you're like an American like Ralph, you might want subtitles. I don't know.
Yeah,
I bash on you people, but I love your comedy. So
They're very northern. I think in the
there
movie.
was I think there was an episode of the newest Black Mirror season where I needed subtitles. I don't remember which one.
So
I have more
yeah,
difficulty
keep
with
that in
like
mind.
Irish or Scottish accents.
They're not Irish or Scottish, but they do have very thick northern accents.
Are they like Fish Tank? You ever see that movie Fish Tank?
I've never seen it, so I can't make a
Well,
fair
never mind.
comparison. But yeah,
Okay. Well, yeah.
check it out.
Awesome. Good pick. Way to go.
Nice one. Oh, Al Capone from Boardwalk Empire is in this.
No bully today. So if anybody listening to the podcast wants to have the context for our next discussion, you should also watch this film. We will be talking about it. You'll hear our discussion in 2 weeks from now. So you'll have 2 weeks to watch the film. And it's going to be a spoiler discussion, just like Hausu was. So
Yes, sir.
watch the movie and you can be, listen and pretend you have friends. Too real. I'm sorry.
And that's it.
We are your
We're all
friends.
done? Yeah,
Too true.
we
All
care
right.
about you.
Oh, yeah. If you want to support us, we all got our individual YouTube channels. Some of us have Patreons. Everything's linked in the description. And we should also have linked in the description the channels that we recommended earlier. So that should be there
yeah.
if you want to check out
Definitely.
Magnus Prophecy and those other people. Thank you
And also head over to the
listening.
Reddit if you want to leave questions and stuff.
Absolutely. We're gonna have a thread there, so you can leave some
Yeah.
questions for us for next week's podcast.
Yes. You can ask us questions. We will answer them. That is all. My voice just cracked. I'm dying.
Nice.
Okay.
All right. Goodbye,
Maybe,
everybody.
maybe.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
See you,
Get
everyone.
some sleep.
Bye.
Eh.